Chapter 795. If she really had to return the shares to Yi Nanshan, she would definitely vomit to death. When Yi Zhen thought of this, she felt uncomfortable. There's no need. Li Junqing smiled and pinched her palm. Don't worry. I have a way. The will in his hands can't be real. I also believe it's not real, but I'm afraid that there's a chance. Even if it's real, as long as you feel suspicious, you can refuse to execute it. The transfer of shares requires the signature of the person in question. If you don't agree, it's useless even if he has the will. But, no buts. Li Junqing didn't want her to worry too much. Do you know, now that the shares are under your name, even if the court rules that the will is invalid after the hearing, it won't be able to enforce it. Even if it is, it can be delayed for a long time before it is implemented. And before that, I believe I found the evidence. There were many people with the same name in the country, but it wasn't difficult to find a chef. Thank you, Uncle Li. She had asked Ling Xian to investigate for so long without any results, but Li Junqing had made such an important progress. Li Junqing put the subpoena aside and looked at the gratitude in Yi Zhen's eyes. He reached out and pinched her palm. Your gratitude isn't very sincere. His fingertips gently brushed past her palm, and she felt an itch. She wanted to take her hand back, but he wrapped his entire body in his arms. His hand slowly slid down her back. These two simple actions caused Yi Zhen's legs to go weak. Uncle Li, if you really want to thank me, why don't you call me hubby? There was a warm touch on her lips. He kissed her lips bit by bit. He traced the shape of her lips. His low voice was filled with endless sexiness. Be good, call me that. Yi Zhen's face turned slightly red. Looking at the teasing look in Li Junqing's eyes, she suddenly raised her hand and hooked it around his neck. Her red lips were slightly seductive. She half bit her lips and leaned close to his ear. Her fragrant breath, accompanied by her hot breath, brushed past his ear. Hubby, thank you. Li Junqing felt his throat tighten and pulled Yi Zhen's body into his arms. Say it again. Hubby. Yi Zhen pressed her forehead against his, and her slender fingertips gently stroked his lips. Thank you. How about this thank you gift? He lowered his head and kissed her lips forcefully. You're really a demon. You asked for it. Yi Zhen lost his strength, his body like dough. He had pinched her here and there, and she was no longer the same as before. Yi Zhen signed the document and handed it to Chu Tei. Over the past few days, she had observed the people in the chairman's office. Yi Nanshan's former assistant was Yi Nanshan's man, and he didn't trust her. That day, the assistant didn't come to the meeting. Yi Zhen wasn't interested in asking what the assistant was doing. He directly asked someone to give him his salary, and then let him go. On the other hand, Chu Tei and the other secretaries in the secretary's office followed her wholeheartedly. Their relationship was pretty good. It was also because of Chu Tei's help these past few days that her work had progressed very smoothly. Of course, Yi Zhen wasn't afraid even if one or two of them had evil thoughts. It would take time to subdue Yi Nanshan's former subordinates. What she had now was time. In the past few days, Yi Nanshan didn't appear even once. Not only Yi Nanshan, but Chen Wan and Yi Ningen also didn't enter the company again. Yi Zhen couldn't figure out what they wanted to do with this almost laissez-faire state. She suspected that Yi Nanshan had a backup plan waiting for her, but she wasn't afraid. Soon it was the day before the trial. Yi Zhen returned home early and looked at Ling Xian and the information that Li Junqing had prepared for her. In fact, the information was very one-sided. Just like how Yi Nanshan had provided that Lu Hui was mentally ill back then, the information couldn't be used as evidence. She just hoped that it would be helpful when she went to court. After reading all the information, Yi Zhen's heart wasn't at ease. She wanted to drink, but she was afraid that if she got drunk, she wouldn't be able to go to court tomorrow. She could only walk back and forth in the living room. When Li Junqing returned home, he saw Yi Zhen like this. What's wrong? Nothing. Yi Zhen saw that he had returned and turned to walk towards him. Why are you back so early today? During this period of time, she knew that there were a few big moves in the city. Li Junqing was very busy. However, no matter how busy he was, he would try his best to go home early at night. Unless it was a special occasion, or a meeting that he couldn't postpone. He would always come back to have dinner with her. Li Junqing didn't answer her question. He looked at the information on the coffee table. Are you very nervous? Yes. Do you need me to greet you and Director Sun? Director Sun was the director of the Qing City Court. Ever since Yi Zhen got involved in this lawsuit, Li Junqing hadn't looked for him. No. Yi Zhen looked at Li Junqing with an unusually serious expression. Uncle Li, don't look for Director Sun. And don't look for anyone related to your profession. She was not an ignorant little girl. She knew when to stop. Uncle Li, don't let it affect your work. She gently stroked his front lapel. She was very grateful that he had such intentions, but there were many things. Not only did she want to rely on herself, but she also didn't want to cause trouble for him. I know people. I'm on the rise of my career. Uncle Li, I don't want to make things difficult for you because of me, even if it would have a slight impact. The seriousness in Yi Zhen's eyes moved Li Junqing a little. It's not difficult. It's just a phone call. No need. Yi Zhen shook her head with a firm expression. I want to win against him fair and square. She said it very easily. It was hard to hide the nervousness in her eyes. Li Junqing's heart ached a little. There was no need for her to experience these things. He lowered his head and kissed her lips gently. It wasn't appropriate to accompany her to court. After all, he was too big a target. However, it was okay to use his way to make her less nervous. Sure enough, after being kissed and hugged by him, the nervousness in Yi Zhen's heart dissipated a lot. Uncle Li. She gave him a warm response and let herself indulge in this almost indulgent happiness. As for other troubles, she would think about them later. Yi Nanshan sat in the plaintiff's seat. Yi Ningen and Chen Wan, who were in the audience, attended with him. Yi Zhen sat expressionlessly in the defendant's seat. She never thought that one day, she would go against her biological father in court. The trial soon began. Yi Nanshan had Lu Hui's medical records from back then. There was also the will. However, Yi Zhen had another will in her hands. More importantly, she also had the medical records from back then. The doctor's statement was completely different from the medical records provided by Yi Nanshan. Yi Nanshan's lawyer was Lawyer Ding. He seized all the loopholes and led the matter to the side that was disadvantageous to Yi Zhen. However, the lawyer Yi Zhen hired was also very famous. It was Li Junqing who had recommended him to her. This person had some connections with Tang Mohan's family. His surname was also Tang, and his methods and abilities were top-notch. His tongue was like a lotus flower. No matter what trick Lawyer Ding threw at him, he could smoothly take it. Lawyer Ding repeatedly emphasized that Lu Hui had a mental problem at that time. Lawyer Tang's side was not inferior. He directly threw out the hospital's diagnosis. He said that Lu Hui only had stomach cancer, not mental illness. Lawyer Ding retorted and said that Lu Hui was depressed because she had stomach cancer, which was why she might have a mental problem. Hearing this, Yi Zhen was so angry that she almost laughed. She looked at Lawyer Ding and wanted to refute. Lawyer Tang gave her a look that told her to calm down. Before Ms. Lu Hui died, she was still negotiating the next cooperation project for the company. I want to know how a person with a mental problem could have such ability. Now the other party's lawyer is saying that Ms. Lu Hui has a mental problem? I think you're the one with a mental problem. Objection. Objection to the other party's lawyer's personal attack. Objection sustained. Lawyer for the plaintiff, please watch your attitude. We only look at the evidence. All our evidence shows that Ms. Lu Hui had no intention of giving the shares to Ms. Yi Zhen when she was alive. We all know that the last will is guided by the last will. The will in our hands is the last one made by Ms. Lu Zhen. The two sides were going back and forth, and it was very lively. For a moment it was a stalemate. In the end, Lawyer Ding and Yi Nanshan didn't get any advantage, so they asked the judge for a temporary adjournment. Yi Zhen agreed. After a 10-minute adjournment, she followed Lawyer Tang out of the courtroom and whispered the results. On their side, they had done their best. With the evidence in their hands and the information they had, although they couldn't make things clear immediately, they definitely wouldn't lose. On the other side, Yi Nanshan and Lawyer Ding also walked out and whispered something outside. This was the first time Yi Zhen had seen Yi Nanshan after the shareholders' meeting that day. He had lost some weight, but he looked quite energetic. His eyes were full of dissatisfaction and anger when he looked at her. Yizhen didn't care at all. Because of Yi Nanshan's gaze, she thought of another point. She suddenly smiled, turned to look at Lawyer Tang, and whispered what she had just thought. Chen Wan and Yi Ningen walked out and went to Yi Nanshan together. Yizhen, on the other hand, suddenly relaxed. She had full confidence. Before the court reopened, Yizhen received a call from Li Junsheng. He asked her how the trial was going. Was there anything she could help with? Standing in the corridor, she listened to Li Junsheng's voice. Yizhen felt that all her worries and fears had become insignificant. No need. Uncle Li, don't worry. I'll definitely win. Okay. Li Junsheng smiled. Then I'll wait for you to win and go home. I'll celebrate for you. Okay, wait for me. After hanging up the phone, Yizhen felt as if her entire body had been replenished with spiritual power and was full of vitality. As for Yi Nanshan and the others, she didn't care about them at all. The trial continued. Lawyer Ding provided a new piece of evidence to prove that Lu Hui had a mental problem. In addition to the medicine she took, there was also the confession of a nanny in the villa. The nanny said that before Lu Hui died, she was often moody. She would either laugh or cry. There were a few times when she lost her temper at the servants in the villa. After she lost her temper, she regretted and blamed herself. She looked crazy. Yizhen sat in the dock and looked at Lawyer Ding, who was full of nonsense. She really had the urge to pull out his tongue. Suppressing her anger, she suddenly stood up after Lawyer Ding finished speaking. She looked at the judge in the court. Her eyes were clear, but her expression was faintly cold. Your Honor, I have a few questions to ask the plaintiff. Is that okay? Yes. Ask. Yizhen bowed and turned to face Yi Nanshan. Mr. Yi, I want to ask you something. Do you love Ms. Lu Hui? Yi Nanshan's expression changed, and he didn't answer this question. Lawyer Ding stood up. Your Honor, this question has nothing to do with our trial. My client can refuse to answer. Your Honor, my question is definitely related to the trial and the evidence I'm going to present later. I sincerely ask the plaintiff to answer my question. Yi Nanshan looked at Yizhen. He didn't quite understand why she was asking this question, but he still gave an affirmative answer. Of course I love your mother. Since you loved my mother, how could you bear to accuse her of having a mental disorder after she passed away? What do you know? It's a fact that your mother is insane. Yizhen, don't talk nonsense just because you're unwilling to return the shares to me. Fine, I'm talking nonsense? Then Mr. Yi, you said you love my mother. How could you cheat on my mother not long after you married her? Yizhen, what nonsense are you talking about? Yi Nanshan's expression changed, and his expression was stained with coldness. Yizhen smiled. Your Honor, Mr. Yi keeps saying that he loves my mother, Ms. Lu Hui. But in fact, not long after he married my mother, he cheated on her and betrayed her. Under such circumstances, I don't think he loves my mother. Since he doesn't love my mother, how could my mother give him all the shares? That's impossible. Do you have evidence that Yi Nanshan cheated? The judge asked. Yizhen nodded. Of course I have evidence. She glanced at Lawyer Tang. Lawyer Tang took out a document at the right time. We have a DNA report. The report shows that Miss Yi Linghan, who is sitting in the audience right now, and Mr. Yi Nanshan are father and daughter. In other words, Mr. Yi Nanshan cheated on Ms. Lu Hui at the beginning of their marriage. Objection. Defendant. This kind of emotional issue has nothing to do with today's trial. Lawyer Ding stood up. His face suddenly had a trace of anxiety. Yizhen looked him in the eye, and his voice was unyielding. Lawyer Ding. Mr. Yi, I want to talk about the issue. It happens to be related to today's trial. Chapter 796. Hearing this, Yi Nanshan couldn't sit still. Chen Wan and Yi Ningen, who were in the audience, all turned pale. Yi Nanshan stood up and pointed at Yizhen. Yizhen, what nonsense are you talking about? The will clearly stated that your mother wanted to give all her assets to me, not to a little girl like you. Mr. Yi, are you saying that my mother was not only blind, but also fell in love with you, the man who betrayed her? Is she stupid enough to give her assets to a man who almost killed her because of an affair? Yi Zhen said this and turned to face the court. Your Honor, I strongly request that the will of that year be re-examined. I have reason to suspect that with my mother's personality, she would never give her assets to a man who hurt her and betrayed her. This was simply the turning point of the day. Your Honor, what the other party said is not true. Yi Nanshan's face turned green. Things had developed beyond his expectations. He didn't expect that Yi Zhen would use Yi Ninggen's identity to make a fuss. Not true. Yi Zhen chuckled. His face was filled with ridicule, but he didn't back down in the slightest. Mr. Yi, you and Madam Chen Wan had Yi Ningen while you were still married to my mother. Does that count as cheating? You and Chen Wan gave birth to Yi Jianhao less than half a year after my mother passed away. Does that count as a second affair? At that time, you already had another family. You even had a son and a daughter. What makes you think that with my mother's personality, she wouldn't know anything and even give you half of the assets? Is she stupid? The series of questions made Yi Nanshan's face turn green. He pointed at Yi Zhen for a long time, but he couldn't say a word. Yi Zhen turned to the judge. Your Honor, the facts of today's matter are clear. I sincerely hope that the court can find out the facts and make the right judgment. His words were powerful and powerful. Yi Zhen stood in the court. No one could match his beauty at that moment. On the plaintiff's stand, Yi Nanshan's face was as black as ink. He looked at Yi Zhen with resentment. The court decided that there was insufficient evidence, and Yi Nanshan's request was not supported. Yi Zhen knew that she would win, but she had been holding her breath. Now that she got the result, she saw Yi Nanshan's face turn from black to white. She chuckled, thanked Lawyer Tang, and quickly left the court. Outside, Yi Nanshan's family of 3 stood there with Lawyer Ding. Their faces didn't look good. Seeing her come out, Yi Nanshan didn't move, but Yi Ningen rushed over first. Yi Zhen, how can you be so cruel? Daddy is also your daddy. How can you be so vicious? Yi Zhen paused and looked at Yi Ningen from top to bottom. In terms of viciousness, I really can't compare to you. Yi Zhen looked at Yi Nanshan coldly and said, I didn't take something that wasn't mine. Yi Zhen, you rebellious bitch. Yi Nanshan took 2 steps forward, but Yi Zhen interrupted him before he could finish. Rebellious daughter? If I'm an unfilial daughter, then what are you, Dad? You. Mom hasn't even died yet, and you've already had a baby with another woman. I really want to know, does Mom know about your affair? I believe that if he knew, he might not have given you the remaining shares of Jianji Company. Yi Zhen. Chen Wan couldn't help but put on the airs of a mother. You're just a child. What nonsense are you talking about? No matter what, your father is still your elder. How can you talk to your father like that? Yi Zhen didn't respond. She stared straight at Chen Wan, acting like a good person, and sneered. Suddenly, her expression changed, and her gloomy face darkened. Her gloomy eyes swept over the 3 people present. Finally, her gaze fell on Chen Wan's face. Auntie, I'm actually quite curious. After so many years, have you never had nightmares at night? My mother never came to see you at night? Have you ever dreamed of my mother in the middle of the night? You, what nonsense are you talking about? Chen Wan's face paled. How could I dream of your mother? No. The corners of Yi Zhen's lips curled up slightly. Her smile had a hidden meaning. It's good that you didn't. After all, if you don't do anything shameful, you won't be afraid of ghosts knocking at your door in the middle of the night. Yi Zhen, what do you mean? Yinghan jumped out. She couldn't stand seeing Yi Zhen like this. Nothing. Yi Zhen flipped her hair and pushed it to the back of her head. I was just saying. Chen Wan's expression changed slightly. She was a little surprised. Yi Nanshan couldn't stand Yi Zhen's strange behavior. Yi Zhen, what are you trying to say? Have you caused enough trouble? Now that you've achieved your goal, what else do you want? Dad, you're so strange. You were the one who caused trouble first. Now that you're saying this, it's meaningless. He was the one who wanted to sue her for the shares. He was the one who used all means to kick her out of the company. How did it become her making trouble? Yi Zhen wasn't interested in staying any longer. Her gaze fell on Yi Nanshan's face. Looking at his pale face, she wasn't sure if they knew about what happened in the past. But it didn't matter. Her counterattack was just about to begin. Yi Zhen left the court and got into the car. She asked Zhao Li to go to the mayor's office. She knew that Li Junxing was at work, but she couldn't help but want to tell him the good news personally. However, before she could make the call, she saw Li Junxing coming out of the mayor's office building. He didn't necessarily wear a suit when he went to work, but even if he didn't, he would still wear a more formal business shirt. A dark business shirt might look a little old-fashioned to others, but he didn't wear it. However, he wasn't dressed like that. He was more elegant and had the demeanor of a business elite. At this moment, the buttons on his shirt sleeves were unbuttoned, revealing his strong elbows. His expression was very serious, as if something had happened. Behind him were his driver, Xiao Zhao, and Secretary Chen. Yizhen stopped in her tracks. Li Junxing was about to get into the car, but he accidentally saw Yizhen's car. He turned around and walked towards the car. He knocked on the car door. Yizhen rolled down the car window, revealing her exquisite little face. "Why are you here?" The seriousness on Li Junxing's face disappeared, and his eyes seemed to be stained with gentleness. "I won." Yizhen's words made Li Junxing understand what had happened. He reached out and squeezed her hand on the car window. He always liked to do this. "Really? Congratulations." "Thank you." As Yizhen spoke, she looked behind him. "Are you going out?" Li Junxing nodded, and his expression became serious again. There was an explosion at a chemical plant in the West District. "I just received news. I'm going to take a look now." Yizhen suddenly became nervous. "How is it? Are you okay?" "I'm not sure." Li Junxing looked behind him. In just a short while many officials came out. "You go back first. I probably won't be home so soon today." Yizhen nodded. She could tell the severity of the matter, but she said, "Uncle Li, be careful. There should be a fire or something at the place of the explosion. Don't get too close." "Silly girl." Li Junxing rubbed her hair and didn't say anything else. He turned around and walked towards his car without looking back. Yizhen looked at his figure and ignored the gazes of others. Looking at Li Junxing's back, she suddenly felt that he was very tall and straight. Moreover, he was indestructible. Yizhen soon saw the news of the explosion. It was caused by the improper operation of the staff at the chemical plant. Fortunately, it was during the shift change, but more than a dozen people still died. This was a major accident. She could see that other than Li Junxing, some familiar faces that she often saw on TV appeared at the scene of the explosion. Li Junxing had more scenes. She didn't know if it was because he was handsome and young. His expression was very solemn. Yizhen saw that his sleeves were rolled up high, and his hair was no longer as smooth as before. However, the camera quickly moved away again. Yizhen couldn't see him. She wanted to call him, but she didn't want to cause trouble for him, so she could only give up. That day, Li Junxing didn't come back at night. The next day, Yizhen woke up early and turned on the television to watch the news. The explosion yesterday was still being reported, but the scene about Li Junxing only flashed by. She sighed in her heart and took out her phone to call Ling Xian. Before Li Junxing went to busy himself, she had some things to deal with. In order not to give Yi Nanshan a chance to react, Yizhen decided to strike first. After communicating with Lawyer Tang, she decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. "Didn't you say that there was a problem with the wool back then?" "I also think there was a problem with the wool back then. You've already cheated, and my mother still wants to give you the shares? Give you the property? Are you stupid? It's already polite not to let you leave the family with nothing. Since that's the case, what reason is there for you to continue being smug?" Therefore, Yizhen pointed at the lawsuit and sued Yi Nanshan, a daughter suing her father. She was the first in the entire Qing city. Lawyer Tang analyzed the case for her very seriously and told her the possible outcome. Yizhen didn't care. What was reputation? Could it be eaten? She really couldn't take this lying down. She really wanted to vent her anger for Lu Hui. Of course, the most important thing was that if she caused trouble for Yi Nanshan in the open, they wouldn't have the time to destroy the evidence from back then. They wouldn't have thought that her real goal wasn't the shares that had already fallen into Yi Nanshan's hands. She wanted to find evidence that Chun Wan had killed Lu Hui. However, she didn't need to tell Lawyer Tang this. "Lawyer Tang, don't worry. I'm not a person who pesters people endlessly. However, I can't just let go of my mother's grievances for so many years. Just think of it as me wanting to vent my mother's anger. I understand. Don't worry, Miss Yi. I will definitely try my best to win this lawsuit. Thank you. It didn't matter whether she won or not. If she found the evidence and sent Chen Wan and Yi Nanshan to prison, she would have achieved her goal. After communicating with Lawyer Tang, she handed the information in her hands to Lawyer Tang in as much detail as possible and dealt with some urgent official business in the company. She was busy until almost 1 in the afternoon. When Yi Zhen was about to have lunch, she remembered that she didn't know how Li Junxing was. She called Li Junxing, and the person who answered the phone was Secretary Chen. He said that Li Junxing was now in the hospital, not in the factory. Yi Zhen couldn't sit still anymore. Uncle Li is in the hospital? What happened to him? Is he okay? Yi Zhen didn't notice that her knuckles were a little white. Secretary Chen seemed to be very noisy, so Yi Zhen didn't hear it clearly. She vaguely heard a hospital. She hung up the phone without hesitation and rushed out. If Zhao Li hadn't moved quickly, she would have left him behind. Sitting in the car, Yi Zhen felt a little guilty. She shouldn't have listened to Li Junxing and not gone to the scene to see him. Now it was great. She still remembered the explosion in Tianjin City clearly. There must have been a few small explosions after that. The fire spread and injured many firefighters. Li Junxing was at the scene. What if he encountered such a thing? The more anxious she was, the more she wanted the car to arrive immediately. But today, for some reason, the road was blocked. Lu Zhishuan's call came at this time. Zhenzhen. Uncle? What's the matter? I heard that your father is suing you, saying that there's a problem with your mother's will. When Yi Nanshan sued her, she didn't want her grandfather and uncle to worry, so she didn't tell them about it. She didn't even have a public hearing, but her uncle still found out. Yes, but it's fine now. She briefly explained the matter and comforted her uncle that she was fine. Your father, that bastard. Lu Zhishuan didn't care at all that it was inappropriate to say that about Yi Nanshan in front of Lu Zhen. I shouldn't have let my sister marry him in the first place. He's really an ingrate. Yi Zhen didn't say anything. Wasn't that right? Decades of feelings were all used in the end. Zhenzhen, don't be anxious. Uncle will help you with this matter. It's okay, Uncle. Yi Zhen had already made up her mind. Uncle, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Before she found the evidence, she didn't even intend to say that there was something fishy about Lu Hui's death. Why should Lu Zhishuan and the others worry? Zhenzhen, take some time to go home. Your grandfather and I have something for you. Okay. Yi Zhen didn't know what her grandfather and uncle had for her. However, she hadn't seen her grandfather and uncle for a while. After hanging up the phone, Yi Zhen's anxiety didn't lessen at all. Thinking that something might have happened to Li Junxing, she really couldn't sit still for a minute. When was it? Would Li Junxing have such a place in her heart? She used to think that she was alone, but she didn't expect that she would meet someone like Li Junxing. He was clearly in a high position, but he didn't put on any airs. He had a handsome face, but he never seemed to attract peach blossoms. The more Yi Zhen thought about it, the more worried she became. Finally, there was no traffic jam ahead, and she arrived at the first hospital smoothly. There seemed to be a lot of people in the first hospital today. Yi Zhen called Secretary Chen as she walked inside. She didn't know how Li Junxing was injured, and her heart was extremely anxious. When the call finally went through, she heard her phone ringing beside her hand. She was very familiar with the ringtone. She turned around and found that Li Junxing was sitting on the bench in the corridor. He was holding his phone in one hand, and his other hand was wrapped in bandages. His clothes were no longer as neat as they were yesterday. There were some bloodstains and stains on them. A few strands of his hair were disobediently falling in front of his forehead. Just looking at it like that, she didn't know how badly he was injured. Yi Zhen quickly ran over and held his hand before Li Junxing picked up the phone. Uncle Li, are you okay? Li Junxing didn't expect Yi Zhen to come over. He was stunned for a moment. How did you know I was here? Yi Zhen shook her head and didn't answer his question. Instead, she looked at his hand. Her eyes were a little red, and there were faint tears in them. Uncle Li, it's a small injury. As Li Junxing spoke, he glared at Secretary Chen, who wasn't far behind her. Secretary Chen shrank his head and didn't dare to answer. There were people coming and going in the corridor, and the two of them were equally outstanding. Naturally, they attracted a lot of attention. Secretary Chen, who discovered this, took a step forward. Mayorly, there are a lot of people here. Look, I'll go back first. Get someone to guard here. Remember, call me as soon as possible if anything happens. Li Juanqing's hand was injured, and Secretary Chen also wanted him to go back and rest quickly. Now that the situation at the factory had basically stabilized, Li Juanqing could also take a breather. Holding Yi Zhen's hand, Li Juanqing followed her out of the hospital and got into Yi Zhen's car. Along the way, many people saw Li Juanqing and felt that he looked familiar. However, because his current image wasn't good, they didn't think of the mayor on TV. As soon as she got into the car, Yi Zhen held Li Juanqing's injured hand. Uncle Li, how's your hand injury? Is it serious? Other than your hand, where else are you injured? It's fine, it's just a small injury. Li Juanqing raised his uninjured hand and held hers. Don't worry, I'm fine. How can you be fine? Yi Zhen didn't believe him at all. She looked at the blood stains on her body. Where else are you injured? Don't try to hide it from me. Li Juanqing reached out and hugged her tightly in his arms. His chin pressed against her collarbone, and his voice was very soft. Don't worry, I haven't married you yet. Of course, I won't let anything happen to me. He was still glib-tongued at a time like this. Yi Zhen gently pushed him and looked at Zhao Li in front of her. Her car didn't have a glass partition in the middle, and she was too embarrassed to let Zhao Li see them being intimate. Li Juanqing seemed to know what she was worried about. He didn't take any further action and calmly explained the injury on his hand. Yesterday the factory exploded. More than a dozen people died, and dozens were injured. The fire in the factory was still burning, and the firefighters had already gone to put out the fire. He commanded at the scene and asked them to arrange and treat the injured as soon as possible. However, he didn't expect there to be a second explosion. At that time, Li Juanqing happened to be consoling an author. Although he was already prepared when he heard the sound, his hand was still injured by the sparks that flew over. It's not very serious. It's just a small piece of skin. Xiao Chen was too nervous and insisted that I go to the hospital to bandage it. He said that he had been inside for an entire night, so he should go back and rest first. That's good too. Go home and sleep for a while. If there's anything else, we can talk about it after you rest. Yi Zhen looked at the dark bruises under his eyes and felt a little heartache. Uncle Li, don't go there again. It's impossible not to go. This matter was so big that the internet was in an uproar. They still had a lot of things to deal with, so Li Juanqing could only rest for the time being. When she returned home, Yi Zhen hurriedly ran to the bathroom. At this time, she was glad that she came out after putting it in. Li Juanqing was taking off his clothes with one hand. When she saw this, she quickly went forward. Let me help you. It was fine if his hand wasn't injured, but he had to pay special attention to his injured hand. Yi Zhen carefully took off his clothes. Looking at the red stains on the bandage, she felt her heart ache again. Uncle Li, does your hand hurt? Li Juanqing looked at her and suddenly smiled. Why don't you kiss me? Maybe after you kiss me, it won't hurt anymore. This person was still not serious at a time like this. Yi Zhen bit her lip, but F took the initiative to tiptoe and kiss his lips. She tasted the taste of tobacco in his mouth. She was stunned for a moment. The slight taste of mint smoke surprised her. She only smelled blood just now, but she didn't notice that there was also the smell of tobacco on his body. But even so, Yi Zhen still felt that Li Juanqing was very charming. She imitated him and kissed him deeply. Her hands climbed up his neck, but she was careful not to touch his wound. And because of her passion, he gave her a deeper kiss. After the kiss ended, Yi Zhen's legs felt a little weak. She placed her hands on his chest. She looked at him gently and worriedly. You smoked? Yes. After not sleeping for a night, he was very sleepy. He smoked too to refresh himself. Is the matter this time very troublesome? It's all right. It would be a little troublesome. He had only been in office for a few months, and such a thing had happened. He would have to deal with the aftermath, explain to the people, and explain to the higher-ups. He would probably be very busy for the time being. Don't smoke next time. Yizhen looked at him. Uncle Li, you told me last time that everything will work out when it comes to it. So, I think you don't have to worry too much. Everything will be fine. I know. Although he said that such a thing happened during his term of office, and it was due to his lack of supervision. Li Junqing didn't intend to tell her too much. If he said too much, it would only make her worry. After entering the bathroom, Li Junqing, who was about to take a shower, blinked when he saw the bathtub full of bathwater. He turned around and called out to Yizhen. What's wrong? Yizhen ran quickly. Is your wound hurting again? Uncle Li, other than your hand, where are you injured? I'm fine. Li Junqing stood there, looking a little troubled. It's just that my hand is injured, so it's not convenient for me to take a shower. I'll help you. Yizhen spoke quickly. Li Junqing looked at her with a flash of a smile in his eyes. Yizhen was good in everything else, but she was too shy in some aspects. For example, if she was asked to change places or try some new positions, she would be shy for a long time. Such an opportunity today was really rare. Li Junqing staggered and almost couldn't stand. Let me help you in. Yizhen didn't think at all. Li Junqing's hand was injured, not his foot. Okay. Li Junqing was helped into the bathtub by Yizhen. Yizhen carefully raised his injured hand and placed it on the edge of the bathtub. Be careful. Don't get it wet. Li Junqing didn't say anything and watched as she eagerly brought a towel to bathe him. He looked at the worry on her face. Chapter 797. Li Junqing sat in the bathtub and looked at Yizhen. There was a hint of a hidden smile in his eyes. His little girl might not have noticed it, but her attitude towards him had changed a lot compared to the beginning. His little girl hadn't noticed this change, but he had. Uncle Li, next time you encounter something like this, don't rush to the front. Okay. Actually, it's none of your business. There are so many people. Yizhen couldn't continue. This thought was actually a little selfish. When she was still a commoner, she would have hoped that their official would have done more for her. But one day, when she became the family of these officials, she only hoped that they would be safe. That fire was not a joke. What if there was something? Okay. After Yizhen finished complaining, she took the bath towel and was about to bathe Li Junqing. However, at this moment, she suddenly realized a problem and stopped her movements. Li Junqing watched as her face turned red bit by bit. Seeing that she stood there motionless, he pretended to be puzzled and asked, What's wrong? Uncle Li. Yizhen handed the bath towel to Li Junqing with a slightly red face. You only have one hand injured. You can do it yourself. But, I'm afraid of touching the wound. Yizhen gritted her teeth. The water was very clear. She could see at a glance that in the water, she retracted her gaze. She was still in the mood to be distracted at a time like this. Uncle Li, you can bathe yourself. Okay. Li Junqing didn't object. He took the bath towel, but his hand suddenly loosened. The wet bath towel fell onto his injured arm. Uft. Li Junqing took a deep breath. Yizhen's expression changed. Uncle Li, are you okay? I'm fine, Li Junqing said with a weak expression. Maybe it's because I didn't sleep last night. I'm a little tired. I'm fine. He reached out to get the bath towel again, but Yizhen was one step faster. She looked at the wet bandage and felt her face turn pale. The bandage is wet. What should I do? Why don't I send you back to see a doctor? Or should I call a doctor over? No, it should be fine. Just help me bandage it later. But, I'm so tired. Li Junqing's face looked weaker and weaker. I want to take a shower and have a good sleep. Then let me help you. How could Yizhen dare to let him make a move? She took the towel and began to bathe Li Junqing. Her face was full of worry, so she didn't see the flash of joy and the smile of success in Li Junqing's eyes. Washing his upper body was fine. Although Yizhen's movements were a little clumsy, he still managed to wash his body smoothly. However, when he washed his lower body, he felt a little awkward. She stared at Li Junqing's body underwater, her face burning. Uncle Li, it's fine. Go ahead and wash yourself. I just want to sleep. Yizhen gritted his teeth, not daring to hesitate any longer. He closed his eyes and reached into the water. By the time Yi Zhen finished bathing Li Junsheng and came out of the bathroom, her hands were sore. Looking at the refreshed and energetic Li Junsheng, no matter how slow she was, she realized that something was wrong. Uncle Liu, was he pretending just now? You're tired, aren't you? Li Junsheng looked at her and smiled gently. I'm sorry. The main thing is that I can't control myself when you bathe me like that. It's been hard on you. Yi Zhen wasn't as thick-skinned as him. She couldn't say that as if it was as normal as eating. She gritted her teeth and glared at him. You still said that your wound hurts. Because he was injured and the wound hurt, he had to trouble her to help him with his hands. But shouldn't the wound hurt and rest? Yes. Li Junsheng nodded and looked at his wet bandage. Look, it's all wet. Help me bandage it again. Yi Zhen, who had been tricked, didn't want to talk to him at all. Looking at the wound, she could only helplessly get the medicine box. When she removed the bandage on Li Junsheng's hand, her caution turned into worry. How did you get so badly hurt? There was a large burn mark, and the red muscles inside made her feel uncomfortable. She bit her lip, and the corners of her eyes reddened uncontrollably. It's fine. I already said it's a small injury. As long as you're not angry with me, it's fine. Yi Zhen glared at him and didn't say anything else. She picked up the medicine prescribed by the doctor and applied it to his wound again. Then she carefully bandaged his wound. After the wound was bandaged, Yi Zhen took the medicine box and was about to return to the living room. Don't go. Sleep with me for a while. You're already injured like this, and you're still thinking about that. You really? It's just sleeping. What are you thinking about? Li Junsheng couldn't help but laugh. Besides, didn't you help me solve it just now? You're still talking about it. Then I won't say it. It's made of. Yi Zhen couldn't help but glare at him again. In the end, she couldn't bear to reject him. She followed him to the bed and lay down to rest. The two of them lay down together. In the end, Yi Zhen couldn't help but fall asleep. When she woke up again, it was already afternoon. Looking at Li Junsheng, who was still sleeping, she got up quietly and quietly walked to the living room outside. When Li Junsheng woke up, he saw Yi Zhen cooking in the kitchen. She was wearing an apron, and her shoulder-length black hair was tied into a small braid at the back of her head. The light of dusk shone in from the kitchen. She looked so beautiful that it was a little unreal. When Yi Zhen took out the dishes, her waist was hugged. She didn't turn around. Instead, she gently patted the back of that hand. Okay, there's one more dish. We can eat when it's done. Li Junsheng didn't let go. He buried his face in Yi Zhen's neck. His breath was warm, accompanied by his pleasant and clear voice. Zhenzhen, you smell so good. Yi Zhen's hands paused. How do I smell good? You smell like oil. My whole body smells good. Li Junsheng hugged Yi Zhen's waist with his uninjured hand. At this moment his expression looked extremely sincere. Do you want me to prove it to you? Yi Zhen took his hand away and looked at him warily. No need. Go out. I still have to cook. You can cook later. Li Junsheng was addicted to teasing her. He took a step forward and hugged her again. I'm very hungry now, but I want to eat you more. Li Junsheng. That was enough. His hand was already injured. Wasn't he going to stop? Yes, this is the first time you've called me by my full name. Li Junsheng looked at her sideways. I think it would be better if you removed the word Li. Mayor Li, Mr. Li, have you had enough? Yi Zhen gently pushed him. Do you want me to finish the rest of the dishes? Not enough. Li Junsheng kissed her face. You only used your hand just now. It doesn't count. You really don't want to consider doing it in the kitchen again. Li Junsheng. Li Junsheng smiled and finally decided not to tease her. Okay. You cook. I'll go out, okay? Yi Zhen heaved a sigh of relief. Li Junsheng turned around and left. But at this moment, he deliberately took a step back and blew gently in her ear. Sooner or later, I'll give you the kitchen. Yi Zhen gritted her teeth as she watched Li Junsheng walk out as if nothing had happened. Was this person really the mayor of a city? How could he be so? The latter adjective was too shameful. Yi Zhen shook her head and forced herself to focus on cooking and not think about anything else. When Yi Zhen brought the dishes to the table, she found that Li Junsheng was on the phone. He had his back to her, and was standing near the balcony. Those people can't wait any longer. I don't believe that they won't use this matter to make a fuss. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Okay. I'll have to trouble you to help me investigate the matter last time. As for the current matter, don't worry. I can handle it. Don't worry. Although I came a little late, I'm not a pushover that anyone can pinch. Okay. Hearing the voice behind him, Li Junxing hung up the phone. Yizhen didn't hear everything, but her eyes were filled with worry again. Uncle Li, will this matter be very troublesome? No matter how unfamiliar she was with the officialdom, she knew that this matter was probably very big and not easy to settle. Why do you ask? Last time, didn't a lot of officials be punished after the incident in Tianjin City? I'm afraid that you'll also. Li Junxing sat down at the dining table and saw the worry in Yi Zhen's eyes. He couldn't help but laugh. Why? You're afraid that I'll lose my job. I can't afford to support you? Yi Zhen couldn't help but glare at him again. He was already so worried, so how could he joke? Yes, I'm afraid that you won't be able to support me if you lose your job. That's troublesome. Li Junxing smiled. If I really lose my job, I can only rely on you. After all, you're the chairman now. When the time comes, I'll drive and carry your bags for you every day. How about being your assistant? Nothing much. Yi Zhen scooped a bowl of soup and placed it in front of him. Your salary is too high. I can't afford it. Of course others can't afford it, but if it's you, you can devote your life to me. Yi Zhen glanced at him. He was still not serious at this time. Okay. When you lose your job, you, the mayor, will be my assistant. You'll be an assistant during the day and a cowherd at night. How about that? Li Junxing reached out and pulled Yi Zhen's hand to his side. It's night now, so do you need me to serve you now, Chairman Yi? Yi Zhen's face blushed again. She withdrew her hand and admitted defeat. In terms of acting like a hooligan and being thick-skinned, she was definitely no match for him. She really wanted to ask, do your subordinates know that you're such a hooligan? However, she didn't have the chance to ask Li Junxing. Li Junxing answered a call, and his expression changed. Okay, I'll be right there. Uncle Li. Yi Zhen understood the meaning behind his words and immediately stood up. Where are you going? I'm going to the factory in the West District. There was another explosion there. Li Junxing's expression was rare. He didn't expect that things would not only not calm down, but the impact would also become worse. Chapter 798. Yi Zhen looked at his wound. He was still injured, and he wanted to run to the scene of the fire? They are here because they are here, and I am here because I am here. Li Junxing knew what she was thinking. He pinched her palm and kissed her forehead. Okay, wait for me at home. When I'm done, I'll come back. But, don't worry, I won't let anything happen to me. As Li Junxing spoke, he leaned close to her ear and whispered, After all, I haven't tried it with you in the kitchen. Half of the worry on Yi Zhen's face disappeared. He didn't know what kind of expression to put on after hearing his words. Li Junxing kissed her lips and turned to leave. When he opened the door, Li Junxing stopped in his tracks and turned to look at Yi Zhen. By the way, there's already some progress on the matter you asked me to investigate last time. Don't worry, there should be results in a few days. All right. Yi Zhen's heart tightened. He still couldn't let go of Lu Hui's death. That night, Li Junxing didn't come back again. Yi Zhen was really worried. She got up in the middle of the night and browsed the local news twice, but she didn't see Li Junxing again. On the other side of the city, Yi Ningen was drinking wine with a gloomy face. Her face was ashen. Looking at Chen Liang, who was sitting beside her and pouring wine for her, she pushed him away. Get lost. Useless thing. You still haven't succeeded. Chen Liang was pushed by Yi Ningen. There was a trace of annoyance in his eyes, but only for a moment. Soon, he sat down again and poured wine for Yi Ningen. What are you angry about? I know you think I'm useless, because I didn't kidnap your sister. But there was someone around her recently. I can't make a big deal out of it. It was true that he wanted to vent Yi Ningen's anger. But after the person who followed Yi Zhen was arrested last time, he also reacted. Yi Zhen was not someone to be trifled with. The helper that the other party found was the mayor. At that time, He was impulsive and said in front of Yi Ningen that he could deal with it. But Chen Liang felt a lingering fear after thinking about it. He had already lost 2 of his men. If 2 more came, his losses would be too great. In the end, isn't it because you're useless? Yi Ningen's tone was full of resentment. If you are useful, tie her up and kill her. I want to see how she can be arrogant. Yes. I'm useless. Chen Liang really liked Yi Ningen. He really didn't take her scolding words to heart. However, he said, speaking of which, her man is amazing. Without Li Junsheng, wouldn't it be very easy to deal with a woman? That's easy for you to say. He's a mayor. How are you going to deal with him? If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't touch Li Junsheng, would she be afraid of a mere Yi Zhen? Yi Ningen became angrier when she thought that Yi Zhen could hook up with Li Junsheng. However, she suddenly sat up and took out her phone to look at the latest news. The more she read, the bigger the smile on her face became. After putting down the phone, she glanced at Chen Liang. All right, I know you couldn't do anything about what happened before, but there's a good thing for you to do right now. What? Bring down Li Junsheng? Are you crazy? That's the mayor. How? I have a brilliant idea. Yi Ningen took out her phone and showed Chen Liang the news she had just read. Look at this. Chen Liang finished reading the news, but he didn't understand. Yi Ningen smiled and leaned close to Chen Liang's ear to tell him what she thought. Chen Liang's eyes widened, and he nodded repeatedly. Wonderful, it's really wonderful. You're really smart. Of course. Yi Ningen smiled brightly, but there was a hint of viciousness in her eyes. Without Li Junsheng, let's see how Yi Zhen will rise. When Li Junsheng falls, Yi Zhen will naturally let us do whatever we want. Brilliant, really brilliant. Chen Liang smiled and pulled Yi Ningen into his arms, pressing her down. In order to celebrate our upcoming success, I'm going to celebrate. Cheers. When he said cheers, he took a sip of wine and fed it to Yi Ningen's mouth. Endless disgust flashed through Yi Ningen's heart, but she still had to use Chen Liang. She could only reach out and hook her arm around Chen Liang's neck to cater to his kiss. When Li Junsheng returned home, it was already the afternoon of the 3rd day. After 3 days of rescue, the fire in the West Side factory was finally under control. The relevant personnel of the factory were also called to investigate, and a few of the main responsible persons had been taken into custody. This matter had come to an end for the time being. When Yi Zhen heard the news that Li Junsheng had returned home, she rushed home as fast as possible. Uncle Li? When Yi Zhen returned home, Li Junsheng was changing clothes in his room. Although the office where he worked had prepared clothes for him to change into, he had basically been at the scene of the fire for the past few days. He would be dirty all over. Uncle Li. Yi Zhen quickly walked forward and placed her hands on his shoulders. She looked him up and down. Are you okay? I'm fine. Her concerned gaze made Li Junsheng very happy. He pulled her hands off his body. Didn't I tell you? I'm fine. You're still talking about it. Yi Zhen's eyes were red. I've been worried to death these past few days. Li Junsheng wasn't always free. Although he had called her to tell her that he was safe, she was afraid that he was lying to her. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that he was fine. What? Are you worried that if something happens to me, you'll become a widow? You're still talking about it. Yi Zhen punched him in the chest. Li Junsheng clutched his chest and let out a low cry. Uncle Li, are you okay? Yi Zhen was afraid that he was injured and wanted to check on him. However, Li Junsheng took the opportunity to hug her, lowered his head, and gave her a long and delicate kiss. Yi Zhen's legs went soft from his kiss, and the two of them somehow moved to the bed. Just as his hand was about to reach into her clothes, there was a knock on the door. Uncle Li. Yi Zhen's voice was a little hoarse. She looked at Li Junsheng with a blush and gently patted his back. Get up first. Ignore it. After not seeing her for a few days, Li Junsheng didn't want to let go of her at all. If there's no one, I'll naturally leave. He lowered his head and buried it in her neck to continue. Yi Zhen quickly pushed him away. Stop fooling around. It should be Zhao Li. When she came back just now, in order to save time, she asked Zhao Li to buy groceries for her. After kissing Li Junsheng's face, Yi Zhen was actually a little tempted. Alright, go take a shower. I'll go cook. Take a shower and rest for a while. I'll call you when the meal is ready. Li Junsheng grabbed her hand and placed it in his palm. He gently squeezed it. Next time, we can hire a nanny or order takeout. I'm not with you because I want you to cook for me. I know. Yizhen's heart was slightly touched. Of course, she knew that he didn't need her to do these things, but she wanted to do it for him. Li Junsheng was indeed tired. After taking a shower, he didn't feel sleepy at all. He walked all the way to the kitchen and could already smell the fragrance of the food in the kitchen. Yizhen's cooking skills had improved a lot recently. Not only were her movements faster, but the taste had also improved. When she saw Li Junsheng come out, she smiled. Sit down first. It'll be ready soon. Li Junsheng didn't respond. He just leaned against the door and quietly looked at Yizhen. If he could, he would stay with her like this. Li Junsheng came out of the fire scene. He rested at home for 2 days. Yizhen didn't accompany Li Junsheng at home all the time. She had a lot of things to do after handing over the painting company to her. Especially in the past 2 days, she was still fighting a lawsuit with Yi Nanshan. But Yi Nanshan said that he wanted to hold a shareholders meeting again. Yizhen didn't know what Yi Nanshan wanted to do. However, she believed that Chairman Shun and the others wouldn't immediately stand on Yi Nanshan's side. Then, what was Yi Nanshan's goal? She didn't know, but she agreed. After all, it was just a shareholders meeting. She wasn't afraid of him. Before that, she talked about the 2 pending cases in the company. She fully displayed her abilities. The subordinates who had some complaints about her becoming the chairman, even Yi Nanshan's people, had no choice but to shut up and stop mentioning that her position as the chairman wasn't right. She knew that those people might still be doing it for Li Junsheng's sake. If it was in the past, she would feel uncomfortable and couldn't accept it. She would want to not rely on anyone. However, one day, she really used Li Junsheng's fame to achieve her goal. She was very indifferent. Firstly, she believed that the painting company itself had the ability to do so. Secondly, she had lost her mother since she was a teenager. No matter how close her grandfather and uncle were, they were still separated by a layer. For many years, she had always been alone. But now it was different. She had Li Junsheng behind her. Li Junsheng's existence let her know that she also had someone to rely on and someone to like her. When she was in the mud, there would also be someone who wanted to pull her out. When she was fighting alone, there would also be someone who stood by her side and told her that he was with her. With such a premise in place, why would Yizhen care about his pride? Saturday was supposed to be a day to rest, but Yizhen woke up early in the morning. She changed her clothes and looked like she was about to go out. Li Junsheng was originally reading the newspaper, but because of her movements, he focused his attention on her. Isn't it Saturday today? Do you still have to work? No. I'm going to Grandpa's house. Do you want me to go with you? Li Junsheng put down the newspaper and stood up. No need. Yizhen looked at his hand that was still wrapped in bandages. Your injury hasn't healed yet. Don't run around. Rest well at home, and wait for me to come back. What? You don't want me to see your parents? Yes. Yizhen turned to look at him because of his teasing voice. You haven't slept well for the past few days. You look dispirited and don't look well. I'm afraid that my grandfather and uncle won't agree to it. Li Junsheng smiled. He stood up and held Yizhen's hand. There was a faint teasing look in his eyes. Don't worry. Even if I'm a little more dispirited, your grandfather won't disagree. You don't even know how much he likes me. He likes you because he thinks you're the son of a good friend. If you tell him that you want to be with his granddaughter, I think he'll beat you up. I'm so scared. Li Junsheng made a scared expression. Such a fierce family. Why don't I give up? In your dreams. Yizhen raised an eyebrow at him. Let me tell you, you won't be able to get rid of me in this life. Then won't I be in trouble? You just found out. It's too late to regret it now. Yizhen blinked her quick-witted eyes and looked at him provocatively. The two of them bickered for a while before Yizhen picked up her bag and left in a hurry. Not long after she went downstairs, Li Junsheng, who had already sat back down to continue reading the newspaper, heard a knock on the door. He smiled and went to open the door. You forgot to bring. When he saw the two uniformed people standing outside, the smile on his face disappeared. Mayorly right. One of the older prosecutors took a step forward politely. We now suspect that you have something to do with the explosion at the factory in the West District. Please come with us to assist in the investigation. Li Junqing wasn't in a hurry to move. He looked at the two people in front of him and said calmly, I have something to do with the explosion at the factory in the West District? Yes. The younger prosecutor couldn't hold it in anymore. Someone reported that you have something to do with this matter. We were only ordered to bring you back for investigation. So Mayorly, please cooperate and come back with us to assist in the investigation. A light flashed through Li Junqing's eyes. He suddenly smiled. Okay. No problem, I'll go with you. But can I take a coat? Yes. Thank you. Li Junqing returned to his room and sent 2 messages while he was taking his coat. He deleted the messages and left his phone at home. He put it directly on the coffee table and left with the 2 prosecutors. When Yizhen arrived at the Lu family, Lu Manjiang and Lu Zhixuan were both there. Grandpa, uncle. They sat down in the living room. The nanny of the Lu family brought out tea and snacks for Yizhen, and then left the living room. Lu Manjiang looked at his granddaughter, and his eyes were filled with heartache. Zhenzhen, why didn't you tell Grandpa that your father wanted to ask you for shares? Grandpa, isn't everything fine now? Don't worry. My father didn't take advantage of me. Is this a matter of taking advantage of me? Lu Manjiang was furious. I really regret it now. Back then, I shouldn't have let your mother marry your father. Now not only did I harm her, but I also harmed you. Grandpa, I already said that I'm fine. Don't think about it anymore. What happened back then was already in the past. Lu Hui was no longer here. Moreover, Lu Hui didn't expect that she would meet a scumbag like Yi Nanshan. Grandpa, you actually don't have to be anxious. Although I'm in a lawsuit with my father. But he didn't win. He still lost. Now I'm planning to sue him. Don't worry. I won't let myself suffer a loss. How could Lu Manjiang not know that his granddaughter was just comforting him? It was difficult to find such a biological father in the whole country who would go to court with his biological daughter for a few shares. He was angry and hateful, but he didn't forget today's business. Forget it. I asked your uncle to call you here this time, because I have something to tell you. Chapter 799. Lu Zhixuan didn't say anything until Lu Manjiang finished speaking. Then, he pushed a document in front of Yizhen. Yizhen didn't quite understand, and picked up the document. Yizhen's eyes widened as he read the contents of the document. She looked at Lu Manjiang and Lu Zhixuan in disbelief. How can there be such a thing? Why would my dad sign this? That was impossible. This was completely out of character for Yi Nanshan. With Yi Nanshan's personality, how could he sign such a clause that was completely unfavorable to him? Lu Manjiang snorted, his eyes filled with coldness. Yes, if your father was in his current position, how could he be willing to sign such a clause? Yizhen stared at the document, the shock in his heart still lingering. It was an agreement between Yi Nanshan and Lu Zhen. From the date of the agreement, it could be seen that it was almost 20 years ago. The agreement stated that Jiehui Company would be established by Lu Hui and Yi Nanshan. Other than the shares needed for financing, the remaining shares would be jointly owned by the two of them. The division of shares was not the point of the agreement. The point was that it stated that Yi Nanshan and Lu Hui were husband and wife. The two of them jointly owned the company. However, if either party betrays the marriage during the marriage, the betrayer must unconditionally transfer the company's shares to the other party. Back then, I didn't agree with your mother marrying your father at all. But your mother is stubborn. All I want is to be with your father. No matter how I tried to stop her, I couldn't make her waver. In the end, I could only agree. After your mother got married, she set up a company and started a business for your father. I watched her run until she was tired. Even when she was pregnant with you, she was still running orders with clients. My heart ached for her. But I think your father is a cold-hearted person. I think he's a heartless person. Lu Manjiang couldn't hide the sadness in his voice. I know your mother's personality. If you don't see the truth, you won't believe anything. I had no choice but to find your father in private and ask him to sign this agreement at the beginning of their company's establishment. My dad agreed. How is that possible? This was not Yi Nanshan's style at all. He had no choice but to agree. Lu Manjiang still thought of Yi Nanshan's attitude at that time, and felt it was ironic. Your mother was pregnant and had you. Your dad probably needs to use your mom to get more. So he agreed. What Lu Manjiang didn't mention was how Yi Nanshan swore that he would never betray Lu Hui. He said that he was sincere to Lu Hui and didn't need to sign such an agreement. But who was Lu Manjiang? He didn't trust Yi Nanshan at all. A man's behavior is done, not spoken. He was very insistent and said that if Yi Nanshan refused to sign, it would mean that he did not love Lu Hui at all. Since he did not love her, why would Lu Hui work for him? Yi Nanshan was a cunning man. In the end, he knew that he could not win against Lu Manjiang, so he could only agree. After he agreed, he did not forget to take the agreement to Lu Hui and tell her how much he loved her. Sure enough, Lu Hui was deeply moved. In the following days, she worked even harder for the company. Lu Manjiang's heart ached at the thought of his daughter's stupidity. But Yi Nanshan was Yi Zhen's biological father after all. It was better not to mention those things. Yi Zhen nodded and held the agreement, but there was still a question. Grandpa, if that's the case, why didn't you take it out when my mom passed away? I was very sad when your mom passed away. Plus, you were still young. Your mom made a will and divided the property into two, giving it to you and your dad. That was your mom's last wish. We also thought that you were his biological daughter after all. He had to take it into consideration. But who would have thought? Lu Manjiang didn't say anything else. But the aging on his face became more and more obvious. If his acquaintance in the court hadn't told him about it, he wouldn't have known that Yi Nanshan was such a beast. He was so beast that he didn't hesitate to sue his own daughter in court for some shares, for some property. What was even more outrageous was that he had the cheek to say that Lu Hui was unconscious when she died. Lu Manjiang's chest heaved violently when he thought of what Yi Nanshan had done. Seeing this, Lu Zhixuan stepped forward and patted him on the back. Dad, don't be angry. Now that Zhenjin has grown up, let's give this document to Zhenjin, and let Zhenjin decide what to do next. In fact, with Lu Zhixuan's personality, he really wanted to kill Yi Nanshan at any time. But no matter what, he was Yi Zhen's biological father. Whether it was him or Lu Manjiang, they didn't want to put Yi Zhen in a difficult position. Thank you, Grandpa. Thank you, Uncle. Yi Zhen looked at the document. Now, no matter what Yi Nanshan did, she wasn't afraid. She really didn't care how much property she could get. But she really didn't want her mother's painstaking efforts to benefit others. Zhenjin, do what you want to do. No matter what, Grandpa will support you. Okay. Thank you, Grandpa. Yi Zhen took the document and left the Lu family. She felt that the anger that had been suppressed in her heart for a long time was finally relieved. She didn't rush home, but went to find Lawyer Tang and showed him the document. Lawyer Tang said that it was a very good breakthrough. Yi Yinghan and Yi Nanshan's father-daughter relationship, and Yi Nanshan gave birth to Yi Jianhao less than half a year after marrying Chen Wan. Both of these things could be considered as an affair, and with this document in hand, if Yi Zhen wanted to sue Yi Nanshan again, she would basically win. Since Yi Zhen trusted Lawyer Tang, she had full authority to deal with these professional matters. After making a copy of the document for Lawyer Tang, Yi Zhen returned home with the original. Unexpectedly, when she entered the house, she found that Li Junqing wasn't there. The injury on his hand hadn't healed yet, and the matter of the factory in the West had come to an end. Did he go to work? This person really didn't know how to take care of his body. Didn't he know that she would worry if he worked so hard? It was useless to persuade him. Yi Zhen thought about it, and searched for some nutritious medicinal meals on the internet. She planned to wait for Li Junqing to come back later, and give him a good meal. In the end, she waited for the whole night, but Li Junqing didn't come back. Yi Zhen called Li Junqing, but found that his phone was on the coffee table. Yi Zhen suddenly had a bad premonition. She took out her phone and searched for the local news. The explosion case of the factory in the West was still under investigation. It only said that the person in charge of the factory and the relevant responsible persons were detained. Other than that, there was no other news. What exactly happened? Yi Zhen was so worried that she didn't sleep well the whole night. Was Li Junxing okay? She really hoped that he didn't bring his phone, and nothing else happened. Yi Zhen entered the company with a pair of dark circles under her eyes. As soon as she got out of the elevator, she saw Chu Te walking in her direction in a hurry. What's wrong? Chu Te stopped and looked in the direction of the chairman's office. Her expression was a little awkward. The old chairman is here. Really? Yi Zhen was stunned. Yi Nanshan still had time to come these few days? Shouldn't he be at home thinking of ways to get back the shares in his hands? Of course, his actions must be in vain. After all, she was someone with an agreement in hand. I got it. Thank you. Yi Zhen yawned. She, who hadn't slept well the whole night, was really sleepy now. Make me a cup of coffee, and postpone the morning meeting for half an hour. Yes. Chu Te responded and left. Yi Zhen pulled herself together. Thinking of the document in her hands, she pushed open the office door without the slightest fear. Yi Nanshan was still sitting behind the chairman's desk. Yi Ningen and Chen Wan were still standing on either side of him. TSK. Every time Yi Nanshan appeared, there would always be a scene like this. Boring. Really boring. Yi Zhen's face darkened. She walked straight to the chairman's desk and stood still. Mr. Yi, this is my seat. Please move aside. What did you call me? Yi Nanshan was already angry when she called him that in court last time. Yi Nanshan looked at his daughter and really hated himself now. Why didn't he strangle this rebellious daughter to death in the past? Yi Zhen, you've got guts. You're actually so disobedient that you even dare to sue your father. Yi Zhen didn't respond. She didn't sue Yi Nanshan because she was brave, but because she wanted to buy time. Mr. Yi, you've done the first thing. Can't I do it the second time? It was really funny. He could ignore his own daughter's feelings for money, but she, as his daughter, had to care about his feelings? Unfortunately, the Qing dynasty was already over. She really didn't have the habit of being filial. Yi Zhen, don't be arrogant. I didn't come here today to argue with you. I can see that. Yi Zhen nodded. If you have something to say, say it. My time is precious. I still have a meeting later. I still have to meet a client. After all, I'm not like Mr. Yi. When you were the chairman, there were always people working for you. You just have to sit here and not move. Yi Zhen, what's with your attitude? Yi Nanshan was so angry that his face was red. Yi Ningen stepped forward and patted his back. Dad, don't be angry. Don't forget that we came here today to talk to my sister. Yi Nanshan's expression softened a little, but his gaze toward Yi Zhen was a bit more arrogant. We came today to ask you to transfer your 20% shares to me. Yi Zhen looked at him, as if he had heard a fantasy story. What did Mr. Yi say? I said, transfer your 20% shares to me for free. Heh. Yi Zhen wanted to laugh. Why? I also said that I want you to transfer your shares to me. Why? Yi Ningen was the one who responded. She walked around the desk and stood in front of Yi Zhen. Because of Li Junxing. Li Junxing? Seeing Yi Zhen's expression flicker for a moment, Yi Ningen smiled. Our Mayor Li didn't come back yesterday, did he? Yi Zhen narrowed her eyes, and her gaze toward Yi Ningen suddenly became sharp. What did you do? Actually, you should ask what our Mayor Li did. Yi Ningen smiled with a hint of mockery. Yi Zhen had a bad feeling in her heart. Your Mayor Li is now being called to investigate. You know about the factory explosion in the West District, right? Now, there is the latest evidence that your Mayor Li is related to this matter. Impossible. Although Yi Zhen hadn't spent much time with Li Junxing, she believed in him. He was definitely not a person who would do anything against the law. You really believe him. But unfortunately, you trusted the wrong person. Yi Ningen had a smile on her face, and the corners of her lips couldn't help but curl up. Your Mayor Li has indeed been taken away. Yi Zhen, your backer is gone. I don't know how long you can sit in the position of chairman without a backer. Yi Zhen didn't say anything. At this moment, her heart was filled with worry for Li Junxing. If Li Junxing had anything to do with the explosion, she naturally didn't believe it. Li Junxing had only been in Qing City for a few months, and the factory in the West District had been open for a long time. How could he have any relationship? If she really wanted to say something, she could only say that Yi Ningen was talking nonsense. If I were you, you'd be more tactful and give up the position of chairman to Dad. Of course, you have to give up the company's shares as well. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't have a good time in the future. Yi Ningen, are you done? If you're done, then leave. Yizhen, what are you so proud of? Didn't you hear what I said? Li Junqing has already fallen. If you're smart, hand over your shares obediently, and give up the position of chairman. You're so noisy. Yizhen gave her a cold look, her eyes full of mockery. What does Li Junqing's accident have to do with me? I'm sitting in this position because the other shareholders of the company unanimously agreed. Do you want me to give up just because you want me to? Yizhen, are you out of your mind? Don't you know why those shareholders agreed? They did it for Li Junqing's sake. Now that Li Junqing has lost his power, do you think you can sit in this position steadily? That's my business. You don't have to worry about it. If there's nothing else, please leave. Yizhen, no matter what, you're just a junior. Your father is your elder. Aren't you afraid of retribution for opposing your father like this? Chen Wan's words made Yizhen laugh. She had watched Chen Wan's decades of hypocrisy and was really tired of it. Especially when this face might be the enemy who killed her mother. She hated it even more. Madam Chen, I suggest you don't speak. You're talking about retribution. As a mistress, I'm afraid you'll get retribution before me. You. Yizhen, Yi Nanshan, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. I advise you not to refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Old Shen and old Zhang are just doing it for Li Junqing's sake. You know this much better than I do. If you don't want to make things too ugly, you should obediently give up your position. It's better for you to obediently give up your position. What if I don't? Yizhen looked at Yi Nanshan. This was her father, her biological father. Grandpa's words really made sense. Yi Nanshan was indeed not a good person. I have evidence of Li Junqing's corruption in my hands, Yi Ningen said coldly, her eyes full of pride. Yi Ningen said coldly at this time, and her eyes were full of pride. If you don't know what's good for you, I can only follow you and show no mercy. If you're smart, I might let Li Junqing go. Evidence of Li Junqing's corruption? Who would believe it? Yizhen's gaze swept across Yi Nanshan and the others' faces, and she suddenly smiled. Okay, you can give it a try. Hand the evidence to the prosecutor's office and see if I'm afraid. Yizhen, do you want to go all the way? Yizhen, Li Junqing helped you so much before. Why? You're quite ruthless now. I wonder how Li Junqing will feel if he knows you're so cold-hearted. Chen Wan deliberately provoked Yizhen, but Yizhen was unmoved. In her heart, she completely believed in Li Junqing and his character. But looking at Yi Jinghan and Yi Nanshan, they seemed very confident. She didn't know much about officialdom. If they really played any dirty tricks, Li Junqing wouldn't be able to guard against them. Also, a strong dragon couldn't suppress a local snake. Uncle Li was powerful, but he was still new. Could it be that what happened to Director Zhang and the others last time was really Li Junqing's goal? She didn't want to think like that, but the current situation made her a little worried. No, Yizhen didn't believe it. She didn't want to believe that Li Junqing was that kind of person. Thinking of this, she immediately regained her composure. Mr. Yi, if you're done, then hurry up and leave. I still have things to do, so I won't accompany you. Yizhen, I didn't expect you to be so cold-blooded. Do you really not care about Li Junqing going to jail? Then let's talk about it after you put him in jail first. Okay, just you wait. Yi Jinghan turned to look at Yi Nanshan. Dad, since sister is so stubborn, there's no need for us to waste any more time. I want to see, after Li Junqing really goes to jail, what else can you rely on? Yi Nanshan stood up, and the group walked out. Yi Zhen believed in Li Junqing, but she was afraid that Yi Jinghan had really prepared some dirty tricks. Just as Yi Jinghan's hand was about to touch the door handle, she suddenly spoke. Mr. Yi. Yi Jinghan had a triumphant smile on her face. She turned around and looked at Yi Zhen. What's wrong? Are you afraid? Yi Zhen didn't look at her, but at Yi Nanshan. This man had been deceiving his mother's feelings from the beginning. Grandfather and the others had never taken out the agreement back then. Thinking about it, Yi Nanshan thought that the agreement was no longer there. or that it could be invalidated and ignored. With that agreement in her hands, she could totally make Yi Nanshan scram just like that. She could take back the rest of his shares. But now that something like Li Junqing had happened, she took a deep breath and looked at Yi Nanshan. Mr. Yi, you're doing these things just to protect your position in the general design company. But if you have nothing, will you still have a position? What do you mean? Yizhen didn't say anything. She took out her phone and opened her photo album. The original copy of the document was naturally at home, but she had taken a copy yesterday. It seems that Mr. Ye's memory isn't very good, so I have to remind you. Mr. Yi, you once signed an agreement in order to please my mother. I think you still remember the contents of the agreement, right? Yi Nanshan's expression changed. He looked at Yi Zhen, and his expression suddenly became a little sinister. Especially when he saw the agreement on the phone, his face turned ashen. You, Mr. Yi, during your marriage with my mother, you cheated on her several times. According to the agreement, all the property under your name will be transferred to my mother for free. If my mother is gone, then all the property will be transferred to my mother's child, which is me. She took a deep breath and looked at Yi Nanshan's changed expression with satisfaction. It was good that he admitted it. Now this agreement is in my hands. Mr. Yi, you still have 40% of the shares of the General Design Company under your name. But according to the agreement, these shares are all mine. Yi Zhen, dream on. Yi Jinghan was furious. She stepped forward and wanted to snatch his phone to see clearly. Yi Zhen took a step back and didn't give Yi Jinghan a chance. She just stared at Yi Nanshan. This agreement was notarized back then. Mr. Yi, don't tell me you forgot? Of course, Yi Nanshan remembered. But after Lu Hui gave birth to Yi Zhen, they had a good relationship. He coaxed Lu Hui and asked her to destroy the agreement. He clearly saw Lu Hui destroy the agreement. Where was the original agreement now? Could it be that Lu Hui had been acting from the beginning to the end? Damn it, that damned woman. She didn't let him be happy when she was alive, and she still wanted to cause trouble for him after she died. He didn't say anything, but Yizhen knew what he was thinking. She took a deep breath. She didn't want to give up 40% of the shares, but in the current situation, she had no choice. Mr. Yi, let's talk about the conditions. What? Give me all the evidence you have related to Li Junqing, and I'll destroy this agreement. How about that? Then how do we know that you'll really destroy it? Then how do I know that you'll give me the real evidence? They didn't believe each other. Who was better than who? Yizhen didn't believe that people with bad characters like Yi Nanshan and the others would really hand over the evidence so readily. Yi Nanshan and Chen Wan looked at each other. Yi Jinghan spoke first. Yi Zhen, you don't have to test us here. It's useless for us to want Li Junqing's evidence. If you don't believe me, why don't we make an appointment? We'll give you the evidence of Li Junqing's crime, and you'll give us the agreement. How about that? That's right. Chen Wan echoed. That way, everyone can rest assured. Yi Nanshan didn't say anything. It was obvious that he tacitly agreed with Chen Wan and her daughter's suggestion. Yi Zhen pursed her lips into a straight line. After thinking for a moment, she nodded heavily. Okay, it's a deal. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, you guys come to me with the evidence, and I'll bring the agreement and destroy it. Okay. Yi Jinghan was satisfied. She turned to look at Yi Nanshan. He had no objections. She originally wanted to let Yi Zhen give up all the shares in his hands, but now it seemed that she had to keep the 40% in his hands first. As for the rest, she could only plan it slowly. Anyway, as long as the agreement was destroyed, the rest would be easy to discuss. Yi Nanshan and the others left, but Yi Zhen couldn't be at peace. Did Yi Jinghan really have evidence? What kind of evidence would it be? What was the reason for Uncle Li being taken away? Uncle Li, what happened to you? Why haven't you come back yet? Chapter 800. No matter how confused Yi Zhen was, she still had to do what she had to do. Chu Tai came in and said that there was a meeting. Yi Zhen said that she understood. Before going to the meeting, she didn't forget to call Secretary Chen, but no one answered. She called Xiao Zhao again. He was only a driver, and Secretary Chen let him rest today. What could a driver like Xiao Zhao know? Secretary Chen didn't answer the phone. Was he also invited in? Yizhen became more and more worried. She was confident yesterday, and thought that she could use the agreement to make Yi Nanshan suffer. But in the blink of an eye, Yi Nanshan set her up. She could ignore it, but she couldn't really watch anything happen to Li Junsheng. If the company's shares were lost, she could find them again and think of a way. If something happened to Li Junsheng, only now did Yi Zhen realize that in her heart, Li Junsheng was even more important than the company she had been thinking about. There was an agreement on the coffee table. Yi Zhen sat there and stared at the agreement for a long time. She called Secretary Chen again, but no one answered. She was very worried. She didn't trust Yi Nanshan and the others. She felt that if she really handed over the agreement, Yi Nanshan might not let go. But if she didn't give the agreement to Yi Nanshan, what if he really had evidence? Yizhen couldn't sit still and stood up. Staring at Li Junsheng's phone on the coffee table, she suddenly remembered something. The Li family couldn't ignore something happened to Li Junsheng, right? They had been busy recently, but a few days ago, Li Junsheng said that he would take her back to the Li family in Rong City for the festival. It was the Mid-Autumn Festival in a few days. Yizhen and Li Junsheng had already planned it, but they didn't expect something like this to happen. Thinking of this, Yizhen quickly picked up Li Junsheng's phone, unlocked the screen, and found the Li family's number. Fortunately, the person who answered the phone was Li Junsheng's mother. "Auntie, it's me. I'm Yizhen." Yizhen's voice was a little anxious. She didn't understand these things in the officialdom, but she was really afraid that Yi Nanshan and the others would play dirty. "Zhen, it's you? How have you been?" "Auntie, Li, something happened to Junsheng." "What?" Yizhen told her what had happened. Her tone was anxious. "Auntie, that's how things are now. Look. Okay, I got it. I'll tell his father." "Auntie, I really..." "Zhen, don't worry too much. I trust my son's character. He won't do anything against the law. As long as he doesn't do anything wrong, no one can touch him." "All right. Auntie, I'll wait for your news." Yizhen hung up the phone, her eyes a little red. She looked at Li Junsheng's phone and casually flipped it open. There were very few things inside. 2 commonly used social networking apps and a payment app. There was no game, only a photo album placed in the most conspicuous position. She flipped it open and found that there were several photos of her. There were pictures of her sleeping, and another of her standing in the kitchen cooking. There was also a photo of her walking out of the company building. When did he take it? Yizhen was really curious. She put down her phone and felt like crying. "Li Junsheng, I hope you're really okay." Yizhen had been waiting for Mother Li's call. As he waited, he actually fell asleep on the sofa. In a daze, she felt herself being picked up by someone. That familiar embrace made her unable to wake up for a moment, and she rubbed herself against his chest. When her body was placed on the bed, the different feeling made her eyes widen. Uncle Li? Li Junsheng, who was standing in front of her, still had the same demeanor. Other than some stubble on his chin, he looked no different from before. She was afraid that she had seen wrongly, so she couldn't help but look him up and down again. She wanted to see if he had lost a strand of hair. Was there anything wrong with his body? Yes. Li Junsheng nodded and looked at Yizhen, who looked like she was about to wake up. "You're awake. Uncle Li, are you okay?" When Yizhen saw Li Junsheng, she instantly sobered up. She suddenly got up and threw herself into his arms, hugging him tightly. "It's really great that you're fine." "That's great." Li Junsheng enjoyed Yizhen throwing herself into his arms. He tightened his arms and easily hugged her body in his arms. "Yes, I'm fine. Are you really fine? Did they do anything to you when they took you away? Have you suffered any hardships? Did you have a good rest? You definitely didn't rest well there. Hurry up and rest. By the way, the food there isn't good either. Are you hungry? I'll go cook for you." "Zhen," she said a lot in one breath. Li Junsheng didn't even have a chance to answer her. Seeing that she was about to jump out of his arms, he couldn't help but hug her waist again, not letting her leave again. "I'm fine, I'm really fine. Look at me. Aren't I fine? Look carefully." Yizhen finally calmed down a little. His heart was fluttering. but now it returned to its original place. You scared me to death. Yijin buried her face in his chest. She lowered her head, so he couldn't see her appearance clearly. However, he could hear the trembling in her voice. I'm sorry, you must be scared, right? Don't worry, I'm fine. I was really scared to death by you. Yijin punched him on the shoulder. I was so afraid that something would happen to you. She couldn't continue. Her worries for the day were really enough for her. All right. I'm fine. Li Junxing kissed the top of her head, lifted her chin, looked at her teary eyes, and lowered his head to kiss her forehead. I'm fine. What exactly is going on? Yijin bit her lip. She was really worried. Do you know that my stepsister actually said that she has evidence of you taking bribes? I don't believe it at all. She's just teasing you. Li Junxing pulled her hand and squeezed it hard in his palm. How could she have evidence of me? There were so many people who wanted to find dirt on him and drag him down. People like Yi Ningen couldn't even be seen in public. I knew it. Yijin actually believed Li Junxing in her heart, but she was too worried. You should tell me again. I have to think about how to deal with her. You don't know, but she's been too much these past 2 days. What's wrong? Does she think that she can bully you just because I've fallen from power? If Yi Ningen really had such thoughts, he really wanted to say that she was too naive. Putting aside the fact that he was reliable and never left anyone with anything to hold against him. Even in the unlikely event that he was framed and pulled down from his high horse, he would make arrangements for Yijin before that happened. I didn't bully you. Yijin seemed to have thought of something. She pulled his hand and led him outside. The agreement on the coffee table was still there. She showed it to Li Junxing. I only found out the day before yesterday that my dad actually signed such an agreement back then. After your accident this time, Yi Ningen thought that I'd lost my backer and wanted me to give up my position to my dad. I refused. She said that she had evidence of you taking bribes. I didn't believe it, but she made it sound so real. I was afraid that they would use some despicable trick to trick you. You've already promised my dad. Destroy this agreement and give me all the evidence he has against you. Li Junxing looked at her and immediately understood her plan. If I hadn't come back, would you really have used this to exchange? Otherwise. Yijin bit her lip, her eyes a little aggrieved. I can't really watch you go to jail. You still said that you believed me. If you really believed me, you would know that it's impossible for anyone to use me against me. Yijin hugged Li Junxing tightly and rubbed her face against his chest. She looked satisfied. Yes, Uncle Li, I should have believed you. Thank you for your trust. Li Junxing looked at the agreement. I think their lives are too light. You should find something for them to do. What did he mean? Leave this to Lawyer Tang. I'll ask your grandfather later. If you really want to sue, it's better for your grandfather to do it. Why? Yijin looked puzzled. I've already talked to Lawyer Tang. Silly girl. Li Junxing pinched her face gently. No matter what, Yi Nanshan is your father. If you sue your father as a daughter, your reputation won't be good in the future. It was his idea to sue you first this time. Others will only say that he's not good. But if you go and sue him, there will always be some Dao protectors who will condemn you in both word and writing. I'm not afraid. Yijin's expression was firm. I'm not afraid of them talking about me at all. My father did such a thing. I can't wait to sever my father-daughter relationship with him. It's just a reputation. But I don't want to. Li Junxing's expression was gentle. Junjin, I don't want you to carry that kind of reputation. That's not necessary. Uncle Li. Yijin seemed to understand his concerns, although she felt that there was no need for that at all. But the fact that he put himself in her shoes and thought for her still made her feel extremely touched. All right. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Li Junxing pulled her hand and sat down. From now on, trust me. I'll take care of everything. You don't have to panic. Your father has no real power other than shares. He can't do anything for a while. So don't worry about those things for now. Just leave it to me. Okay. With him around, she was always extremely at ease. She reached out to hug him again. She only felt that hugging him like this, even if they didn't do anything, was enough to make her satisfied. However, As if she had thought of something, her gaze fell on the agreement. She looked up at Li Junxing and suddenly smiled. Uncle Li, I still have a business deal. What? I won't tell you. Naughty. Li Junxing went to kiss her again. Seeing that she was only dodging but unwilling to speak, he couldn't help but reach out and scratch her under her armpit a few times. Yizhen laughed and her body curled up into a ball. Li Junxing didn't stop and scratched her until she almost lost her strength from laughing. In the end, she helplessly hooked her arms around his neck and softly begged for mercy. Don't come, don't come. I'll say. Yizhen looked at the agreement, her eyes full of slyness. Tomorrow, I'm still going to give this agreement to him. She blinked, and Li Junxing almost instantly understood what she meant. He gently tapped the tip of her nose. The little girl was really smart. She used the other person's own way to counter him. Uncle Li, tomorrow, take the original copy of this agreement and continue to look for my grandfather. As for the agreement that my father wants, I will naturally give it to him. Li Junxing looked at the light in her eyes and was tempted. He lowered his head and kissed her lips again. You're really a vixen. When Yizhen heard this, she reached out and hooked her arm around his neck. Yes, not only is she a vixen, but she's also a vixen who specializes in sucking your blood and eating your flesh. In that case, I can only wash myself clean and let you enjoy me. As Li Junxing spoke, he picked her up and went to the room again. For the first time, Yizhen felt refreshed after being squeezed by Li Junxing. Uncle Li was fine and had returned safely. To her, this was the best news. The next day, Li Junxing woke up and had breakfast with her. After kissing her on the lips, he went out. When he left, he took the agreement with him. As for Yizhen, after finishing his meal, he picked up the other agreement and left the room. At 10 o'clock, Yi Nanshan's family of 3 arrived on time. However, they were in a neat formation, appearing together every time. Oh, except for Yi Jianhao, who was still in school. Yizhen didn't have the time to be polite with Yi Nanshan's family. She looked up at him with a worried expression. Did you bring the evidence you mentioned? Of course I brought it. Yi Ningen took a step forward with a document bag in her hand. She looked at Yizhen with an unfriendly gaze. What about you? Where's the agreement? Here. Yizhen waved the agreement in her hand, but she quickly retracted her hand and put the agreement behind her. How do I know that the evidence you mentioned is real? If I give it to you, you'll naturally know. What if you have a copy of me? You have to know that I only have one copy of the agreement. If I really give it to you, I won't have it anymore. As long as you hand over the agreement, we will naturally give you the evidence. This matter is a little difficult. Yizhen sighed and clenched the agreement in her hand. She seemed to be very conflicted and suspicious. Then what do you want? Yizhen bit her lip and looked conflicted. After thinking for a moment, she suddenly looked up at the 3 people in front of her. How about this? We sign a new agreement. Dad, I will give this agreement to you. After you accept this agreement, you will forever be a shareholder of the company, not the chairman. In your dreams. With so many shares in hand, Yi Nanshan's plan was to destroy the agreement and regain control of the company. If he signed another agreement, wouldn't he be in a passive position again? If that's the case, then there's nothing to talk about? Yizhen looked regretful. Dad, you really don't trust this daughter of yours at all. Ever since they shed all pretense of cordiality, this was the first time she called him Dad. However, it was so sarcastic and meaningful. Yi Nanshan's expression was ugly, but Yizhen sighed again. Dad, you really can't blame me for not trusting you. What if you take the agreement, then turn around and use the shares in your hand to deal with me? Who do I look for? Yizhen, don't confuse me. Yi Ningen took a step forward and stood still. The point today is not to sign another agreement, but to give us the previous agreement, and we will hand over the evidence of Li Junxing's crime to you. Why is it that when it comes to you, you want us to sign another agreement for you? What's the reason? It was a pity that the people on the other side didn't get involved. Yizhen sighed in her heart, but there was no trace of it on her face. What reason? You have the evidence, and I will give you the agreement. A 1-to-1 exchange. But speaking of which, 40% of the shares isn't child's play. I have to be worried that you will bite back at me in the future, right? Enough. Yi Nanshan couldn't take it anymore. You've been going around in circles for so long. Do you still want Li Juanqing's criminal record? Yes, of course I want it. Yi Zhen seemed very hesitant as he stood up. His hand was still tightly gripping the agreement. She walked in front of Yi Ningen. Come, let's exchange together. Yi Ningen looked at her and began to become impatient. She handed over the evidence in her hand and reached out her other hand to Yi Zhen. Yi Zhen imitated her actions and was about to reach out her hand. However, she had just handed out the document in her hand when she suddenly retracted her hand. No, I regret it. Yi Nanshan and the other two looked at her together, their eyes filled with anger. Yi Zhen, what do you mean? I don't mean anything. Yi Zhen took a step back and put away the agreement in her arms. What I mean is, I don't plan to save Li Juanqing anymore. You. Yi Nanshan's family of 3 looked at her in disbelief. Yi Zhen, do you know what you're saying? I know. Yi Zhen nodded with a calm expression. Men can be relied on, and sows can climb trees. You were the one who taught me this, Dad. Back then, you could even sign such an agreement in order to coax your mother to work for you and for the company. Now you can even sue your own daughter for the shares. Tell me, why should I trust men? With this agreement, I can snatch the entire company and make it mine. At that time, I will have money and a company. Will I be afraid of not having a man? Dad, don't you think so? Yi Nanshan was so angry that his whole body trembled. He pointed at Yi Zhen as if he was looking at a bug. Rebellious girl, you rebellious girl. Did you do it on purpose? Dad, how can you say that? In the end, isn't this the lesson you taught me? As Yi Zhen spoke, she hugged the document in her hand tightly. If I really listened to you and gave you the agreement, let's not talk about whether your evidence is useful or not. Even if it's useful, it's fine. Why should I use such a huge benefit to exchange for a man? This man is your backer. Chen Wan didn't believe that she wouldn't panic. Don't you think about it? If your backer falls, who will give you face? The company will fall in your hands sooner or later. That's my business. I don't need to trouble Miss Chen. As Yi Zhen spoke, she took a step back again. Okay, I still have things to do. You guys can leave. Yi Nanshan's chest was still heaving violently, but Yi Ningen couldn't care less about Yi Nanshan. She looked at the document in Yi Zhen's hand and rushed towards her without thinking, as if she was going to snatch it. However, before her hand could touch Yi Zhen's body, it was caught. Chapter 801. Yi Zhen was surprised to see Li Juanqing appear. He didn't even notice the word fiancé in his words. Chen Wan and Yi Nanshan heard it. Both of them were angry at Yi Zhen for going back on his word. Naturally, no one stopped Yi Jinghan from snatching the agreement. But where did this Li Juanqing suddenly come from? Yi Jinghan's hand hurt from his grip. What shocked her even more was Li Juanqing's words just now. Fiancé? How is that possible? Are they already engaged? Yi Jinghan tried to pull her hand back, but found that the man who looked extremely elegant on the outside had a cold expression on his face. He looked gloomy and sharp. She swallowed her saliva. She was clearly very scared, but she didn't forget to insult Yi Zhen. Mayorly, you said she's your fiancé? When Yi Zhen heard the word fiancé, he finally realized what it meant. When did she become his fiancé? Yi Jinghan saw Yi Zhen's reaction and thought she was feeling guilty. She sneered. Mayorly, you came a few minutes late. You probably didn't hear my good sister's wonderful words. Li Juanqing pursed his lips into a straight line, and the strength in his hand almost crushed Yi Jinghan's wrist. What do you want to say? If you came a few minutes earlier, you would have heard that my sister is with you because of your identity. Oh. Li Juanqing raised his eyebrows. What identity? Of course it's the mayor's identity. Yi Jinghan glared at Yi Zhen, wanting her to suffer. Do you know what she just said? She said that a man can be trusted and a sow can climb a tree. This means that she doesn't believe you at all. Also, Yi Jinghan pointed at Yi Zhen, and there was a flash of resentment in her eyes. Do you think she really loves you? She doesn't love you at all. She's just using you and your identity. Yi Jing'an's fingertips fell and pointed at the agreement in Yi Zhen's hand that he hadn't had time to snatch away. Do you know that we asked her to use some shares in exchange for your criminal evidence, but she refused? Are you sure you want to be with such a woman who doesn't love you? Li Junxing seemed to be stunned by Yi Jing'an's words, and the strength in his hand also relaxed a little. Yi Yinghan took advantage of the victory to pursue, and did not forget to continue to make things difficult for Li Junxing. You want to marry her, but she would rather choose property. Do you dare to marry such a woman? However, Li Junxing suddenly let go of his hand at this moment. With a light push, Yi Ning'an's body took a few steps back. She finally stabilized her body and looked at Li Junxing in shock. Mayor Li Junxing took a few steps forward and walked in front of Yi Ning'an. Seriously speaking, Li Junxing, who was only 1.8 meters tall, wasn't particularly tall. He had the kind of figure that looked skinny in clothes and fleshy when undressed. However, he had been in a high position for many years. Even when he was smiling faintly, his aura was still very imposing. At this time, he stared at Yi Ning'an coldly. That kind of gaze made her tremble instinctively. She felt as if something was wrong. You mean evidence of my crime? What kind of evidence is it? Yi Ning'an's face suddenly turned white. Her legs went weak, and she almost fell to the ground. Say it. What kind of criminal evidence? I'm really curious. No. You heard wrong. Now that Yi Ning'an saw Li Junxing come out, what else didn't she understand? Now that Li Junxing appeared here, didn't it mean that he was fine? Since he was fine, then what she said just now wasn't it? Yi Ning'an wasn't the only one who reacted to this sudden change. Yi Nanshan and Chunwan also reacted. The two of them were so shocked that they even forgot to go forward and pull Yi Ning'an away. Uncle Li, she's right. She has evidence of you accepting bribes. Yi Zhen seemed to say very unintentionally. Uncle Li, my good sister also said that when you fall, I won't have anyone to rely on. Oh, Li Junxing raised his eyebrows lightly. I wonder how you plan to make me fall. Mayor Li. The first to react was Yi Nanshan. He took a few steps forward and walked in front of Yi Ning'an, pulling her behind him. At this time, he finally understood that Li Junxing was standing up for Yi Zhen. Mayor Li, my daughter is immature and spouting nonsense. Don't lower yourself to her level. Immature? Li Junxing chuckled. You're already an adult. Don't you know what you can say and what you can't say? Do you think you can casually say the words criminal evidence? Mayor Li, this is really... That's good. Since you think that you have evidence of my crime, then I naturally have to investigate it thoroughly to prove my innocence. Mayor Li, it's a misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. I don't think this is a misunderstanding. As Li Junxing spoke, he took out his phone. It seems that I can only call Director Chun and let him deal with this matter. I really haven't asked how the crime of slander and slander will be judged. No, Mayor Li. This is really a misunderstanding. Yi Nanshan was anxious. As he spoke, he couldn't help but glare at Yi Zhen. Damn girl, you're actually just standing there and watching. Aren't you going to help say a few good words? Chunwan smiled and took 2 steps forward, her gaze landing on Li Junxing's face. There was a flash of unwillingness in her eyes. Why did such a high-quality man end up benefiting that little b*th, Yi Zhen? She was really too hateful. Mayor Li, my daughter is young and immature. She was tricked by someone and said a few nonsense words. How can it be considered slander and slander? To be honest, the person who seduced my daughter to say these words is the one who should be punished. Yi Zhen simply wanted to laugh. It had already come to this. This Chunwan didn't forget to slander her. That was really enough. Auntie, what do you mean by that? You mean that Ning'an's words are nonsense? TSK. But I clearly heard her say that she has evidence of Uncle Li accepting bribes. Yesterday, she was still so confident, and even wanted me to exchange the company's shares. How did it become nonsense now? Yi Zhen. Chunwan glared at Yi Zhen. Her eyes seemed to be stained with poison. Why do you have to sow discord here? In fact, didn't you do it on purpose? Speaking of which, how much of your thoughts are true? But you're just using him. Mayor Li is a good person. I won't argue with you. Otherwise, how can someone like you, who values money more than life, be worthy of Mayor Li. If I don't deserve him, who does? Yiningen? Yizhen smiled. She openly held the agreement in her hands and walked in front of Li Junsheng. You heard them. They said that I used you. Yes, I heard them. It was completely different from when he was facing Yiningen. Li Junsheng only felt his heart warm when he saw her arrogant little face. Are you angry? I'm not angry. Why should I be angry? Did you see that? Yi Zhen turned to face Chen Wan. Uncle Li, he's not angry. I won't be angry with you. Li Junxing held her waist with one hand and leaned over to kiss her cheek. You know, it's my honor to be used by you. I remember I taught you before. I said if a person can be used, it means that this person has value. It's not worth being angry, right? Yes. I remember it all. Yi Zhen did it on purpose. She looked at Yi Ningen with a provocative smile in her eyes. Uncle Li, I'm really sorry. I might still have to use you in the future. Welcome. Li Junxing gently tapped the tip of her nose. You can use me at will. Yi Ningen stood behind her parents and looked at the scene in front of her. She felt a fire burning in her heart. She didn't want to let it go just like that. She definitely couldn't let it go just like that. She was emotional at this moment, and no one cared. On the other hand, Chen Wan suddenly realized something when she saw the situation between Li Junxing and Yi Zhen. She gave Yi Nanshan a look. She had said what she wanted to say. If Li Junxing really wanted to deal with them, she was afraid. Yi Nanshan, who had never liked Yi Zhen, quickly reacted from Chen Wan's gaze. He thought of another thing. He didn't know that Li Junxing could be so concerned about Yi Zhen before. Now it seemed that he had been too rash and too eager. There was no need to fall out with Yi Zhen at all. This way, he would still have a son-in-law who would be the mayor. When that time came, who would dare to give him a hard time? Wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted in the entire Qing city? Yi Nanshan was indeed a smart person. In the shortest time possible, he had thought of the most advantageous position for him. What was the previous agreement? As long as there was this line, he didn't care about those small problems at all. Instead, it could bring greater benefits to the company and him. It was a miscalculation, but it didn't matter. He could make up for it now. Thinking of this, Yi Nanshan quickly calmed down the emotions on his face. He changed his expression so quickly that Yi Zhen, who had been watching from the side, was very surprised. Mayor Li. Yi Nanshan walked forward and looked at Yi Zhen and Li Junsheng. I see that you and Jinjin have such a good relationship. Why don't you arrange for us to visit your father and mother sometime? It'll also be good for the elders on both sides to decide on your marriage. How about it? Engagement? Li Junxing raised his eyebrows. I'm engaged to Jinjin? Yes. Yi Nanshan nodded. Didn't you say that she's your fiancé? But you guys don't have a name or a share now. Not many people in Qing City even know that you guys are together. How can this be? Since it's an engagement, of course, we have to meet both parents and settle this matter. Really? The corners of Li Junxing's lips curled up. He looked at Yi Nanshan and could almost see through his thoughts at a glance. Then Uncle Yi, do you think that you can preside over Jinjin's marriage with me as Jinjin's father? Of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have married Jinjin to you. Heh. Li Junxing chuckled and looked at Yi Nanshan. His expression suddenly changed. Are you worthy? Chapter 802. Yi Nanshan's face turned pale. He stood there in a daze and looked at Li Junsheng. He had never thought that one day, he would be criticized so mercilessly by a junior. You. He saw Yi Zhen standing behind Li Junsheng, as if he had finally found a reason for himself. I'm not qualified? I'm her father. You're her father? Li Junxing seemed to have heard a joke. A father who sued her in court? A father who doesn't care about his daughter at all? The ridicule in his eyes was too obvious. Yi Nanshan's face was very ugly. That's because she was unfilial first. If I have a father like you, then I don't mind being unfilial. He refused to come to his senses. Li Junxing didn't want to talk to Yi Nanshan at all. Mr. Yi, if there's nothing else, please leave. This is my fiancé's office. And she obviously doesn't want to see you. Mayor Li, I know you're a high-ranking official, but that doesn't mean you have the right to interfere in other people's private affairs. Let's not talk about the fact that Yi Zhen hasn't married you yet. I still have a share in this company. Why can't I stand here? You are indeed qualified, Li Junxing answered on behalf of Yi Zhen. You can continue to stay, but Miss Yi said that she has evidence of me. I don't think we should let this matter go so easily. We have to investigate it thoroughly, right? Mr. Yi. Or do you want me to call you now? Chen Wan gritted her teeth so hard that they almost shattered. She couldn't help but take a few steps forward, wanting to argue with Li Junxing. Yi Ningen held her hand, and then Yi Nanshan's hand. Dad, Mom. Let's go first. Li Junxing came out, which meant that he was fine. Then what to do next would have to be discussed again. At this stage, the most important thing was to deal with the agreement in Yi Zhen's hands. Yi Nanshan didn't want to leave. He hadn't gotten the agreement back. However, he also knew that Li Junxing was here. Just now, they had given Li Junxing a hold on them. Now was not the time to use brute force. He could only look for another opportunity. After exiting the shogi company, Chen Wan almost exploded as soon as she went downstairs. Yi Nanshan, you're really good. You actually dared to sign such an agreement. Is everything okay now? You want to give all your wealth to someone else? You're really something. Chen Wan had said the same thing the day before after she found out about the agreement. Now that she mentioned it again, Yi Nanshan was very impatient. He didn't want to listen at all. Chen Wan felt that it wasn't enough. You've contributed to the company for so many years. Why should you give all your shares to that little girl? What qualifications did she have? Are you out of your mind? Yes. Dad, you're too impulsive. Enough. Yi Nanshan didn't want to listen anymore. What else is there to say? What's the point of repeating it over and over? Boring. Then why don't you take back the agreement? Chen Wan was furious. In my opinion, you still love that dead woman. Otherwise, why would they sign such an agreement? In vain. I suffered so many grievances in order to follow you. Now that things are better, I don't even have a way to live. Forget about me. But what did Ninghan do wrong? What did Jianhao do wrong? Where did you put them? Huh. Tell me. She pushed Yi Nanshan as she spoke. Yi Nanshan was already impatient. He couldn't take it anymore and waved her hand away. Chen Wan, who was wearing high heels, was caught off guard. She took 2 steps back and lost her balance, falling on the stairs. She screamed and immediately jumped up. Yi Nanshan, how dare you push me? How dare you push me? You ungrateful bastard. You, enough. Yi Nanshan looked at her shrewish behavior, and then at the people passing by, looking at them from time to time. You've made enough noise. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Chen Wan also came to at this moment and stood up angrily. The 3 of them lowered their heads and quickly got into Yi Nanshan's car. Yi Nanshan sat in the car, not in a hurry to start it. Deep down, he was very depressed. He thought back to the time when he had to sign the agreement in order to make Lu Hui trust him. After all, he really needed Lu Hui's ability and connections back then. Lu Manjiang was a professor in the Lu family. The Lu family had a lot of connections that he usually couldn't reach. Although he had signed the agreement, he was absolutely unwilling to hand over the shares in his hands to others. Why? Lu Hui had been dead for so long. The company had grown because of his hard work. When Yi Nanshan thought about this, he didn't think that without Lu Hui's hard work and connections, who would know that he came from a small county? What do you think we should do? You don't want me to make a fuss. What do you think we should do? Chen Wan couldn't calm down. Yi Nanshan became more and more impatient. Even if we take away the shares, I still have a lot of money under my name. I won't starve you to death. If you don't like me, we can divorce. You can go find another man. Okay, Yi Nanshan, what are you talking about? Let me tell you, you want to get rid of me? No way. Dad. Mom. Stop arguing. Yi Ningen was already annoyed. Now that they were arguing, she was even more annoyed. If you have time to argue here, why don't you think about how to destroy the agreement or how to keep our shares? Previously, she had wanted to say that Lu Hui was unconscious before she died and take all of Yi Zhen's shares. But now, it seemed that it would be difficult to keep Yi Nanshan's shares, let alone Yi Zhen's shares. What was even more hateful was that damn Yi Zhen had hooked up with a good man like Li Junxing. Yi Zhen had taken advantage of all the good things. It was really enough. How do we solve it? How? Chen Wang glared at Yi Nanshan with dissatisfaction. If your dad hadn't been in a daze and signed that agreement, how could there be so many problems after that? Mom, stop talking, okay? Yi Zhen saw that Yi Nanshan was on the verge of exploding and quickly stopped her from continuing. Stop talking. Dad is already suffering enough. I said the most important thing now is to solve the problem. Yi Nanshan looked at his daughter and finally felt a little more considerate. He thought for a moment and said, let's go find Lawyer Ding first and talk to him about this. Let's see what he has to say. Dad, that's what I mean too. Yi Ningen was actually very annoyed, but she knew that at times like this, she had to be even more calm. Let's go find Lawyer Ding first. It's best if we can find an explanation that the agreement is invalid. As for the rest, we'll talk about it later. Okay. Ningen is still the sensible one. Yi Nanshan's words attracted Chen Wan's attention, but when she thought that her daughter was more likable to Yi Nanshan than that little B***tch, Yi Zhen, she more or less relaxed. In the office, Yi Zhen looked at Li Junsheng. Her eyes were curved, and there was a faint smile on her face. Uncle Li, aren't you going to work today? No. Li Junsheng hugged her waist and led the two of them to sit in the spacious office chair. I was just wronged and I'm depressed. I need some time to calm down. Pfft. Yi Zhen couldn't help but laugh out loud. Uncle Li, are you kidding me? She had known him for a long time, so she could roughly guess his personality. Things like being depressed weren't suitable for him at all. Uncle Li, you're so depressed, yet you still have time to come here to watch my family ethics drama? You don't know, do you? Li Junsheng leaned over and kissed her red lips. It's because I'm depressed, so I came here to find comfort. As he spoke, his hand naughtily reached into the hem of her clothes. Yi Zhen panicked and quickly grabbed his hand. Stop fooling around. This is the office. I know. Li Junsheng's lips curled up, and this smile unexpectedly revealed a bit of evil. Of course I know this is the office. However, I haven't tried doing it in the office. You're crazy. No, I just can't help it. Li Junsheng's lips were close to her ear. You know, if it's my office, I naturally can't mess around, but it should be fine here. Uncle Li. Yi Zhen wanted to refuse, but looking at Li Junsheng, the emotions in his eyes were too obvious. She blushed a little, thinking that he had just come out. She didn't refuse too thoroughly, but she still had to have a bottom line. There's a lounge next to it. This was the bottom line. If she really did it here, she would have a shadow in the future. Li Junsheng knew that she was thin-skinned, so he didn't force her. There would always be a chance in the future. He picked her up and strode to the lounge. Of course, he didn't forget to lock the door. Yi Zhen didn't forget to ask Chu Tei to push the meeting to the afternoon. When she hung up, she was still a little embarrassed. Was this considered depravity? The bed in the lounge was changed by Yi Zhen after she became the chairman. She really didn't want to use something that Yi Nanshan had used. The bedding had also been changed from white to light blue. At this moment, she was naked, and the sky blue blanket barely covered half of her waist. Her entire body exuded a lazy and sexy vibe. Li Junsheng looked at her kitten-like appearance and loved her very much. He picked up her hand and kissed it. One more time. No. Yi Zhen shook her head and sat up. Looking at the marks on her body, she blushed a little. There's still a meeting in the afternoon. There's still a lot of work to deal with. She turned around and looked at Li Junsheng, who had stood up at the same time. She suddenly became serious. Uncle Li, has your matter really been resolved? Are you all right? Worried about me? Li Junsheng reached out to hug her, but he saw that she quickly got out of bed and grabbed the clothes beside her to put them on. Don't worry, I'm fine. What exactly happened? How did Yi Ningen have your evidence? She did have evidence, but it was made up by herself. Li Junsheng thought of what had happened before, and his expression was a little cold. Chapter 803. After all, such a big thing has happened. The higher-ups will definitely investigate it thoroughly. After receiving the report, they will naturally call me for questioning. Yi Ningen didn't just report Li Junsheng. No one knew what she was thinking, But she actually got someone to bribe the family of a senior management member in the factory. She got that person to agree to testify that he had given Li Junxing a gift. That person's words were very convincing, and there was evidence. Yizhen frowned and couldn't help but ask, "Then why are you fine?" "I can only say that whether it's your parents or your sister, they don't know me well." Ever since Li Junxing could remember, he had been educated by his father and grandfather. He had wanted to walk down this path. He knew very well that even if he took a wrong step on this path, it would be a big taboo. Therefore, from the moment he started working at his first unit, he had been very careful about his image and had never left any evidence for himself. If the family of the management wanted to accuse him, they had to have evidence. When did he give the gift? Where did he give it? What did he give it? Was it right? Secretary Chen kept a record of his daily routine. How could it be designed by someone as clumsy as Yi Ningen? "It's good that you're fine." Yi Zhen had already put on her clothes. "But since you know it was Yi Ningen who did it, why didn't you get someone to arrest her?" If this was in ancient times, it would be slandering an official of the imperial court, and he would be beaten. "Your sister has some brains. She didn't show up from beginning to end." Li Junxing had thought that it was because he had stopped another company from opening a factory in Qing City last time, and attracted the family's revenge. After all, at his position, there were many people who wanted to step on him. If he hadn't heard from Yi Zhen that Yi Ningen had evidence in her hands, he would have asked Secretary Chen to investigate who was stirring up trouble behind the scenes. "Then we can't do anything to her?" Why did Yi Zhen feel so unhappy? How could that be? Li Junxing grabbed her hand and pulled her back to the bed to sit down. "There are many ways to deal with your sister. The simplest way is for me to help you snatch the shares from your father. Losing the shares of the Shogi company means losing the identity of the eldest daughter of the Yi family. To your sister, that's the biggest punishment." That was true. Yi Ningen may have been too unhappy in the past 10 years. Ever since she followed Chun Wan and married into the Yi family, she went around proclaiming that she was the eldest daughter of the Yi family. She was really shameless. She didn't even think about it. Her mother was at most a mistress, and her identity on the surface was to follow the mistress into the Yi family. Her surname was originally Chun, but she later changed it to Yi. This was the greatest humiliation for Yi Ningen. Maybe people care more about something when they have nothing. Why does Yi Ningen hate her so much? Most of the reason was because he felt that if it wasn't for her, he would be the legitimate eldest miss of the Yi family. The mother and daughter were disgusted. They didn't even think about it. If it wasn't for Lu Hui, the Shogi company wouldn't even exist. How could they be the eldest daughter of the Yi family? "Uncle Li, don't worry. I will get all of Yi Nanshan's shares." Chapter 804. Then let them come. "I'm not afraid." Yi Zhen was really not afraid. If it were before, she might have been a little nervous. However, ever since she got together with Li Junxing, she had a lot more confidence than before. She always felt that no matter what happened, Li Junxing would stand behind her. It's better to be careful. To be able to come up with such a vicious trick to frame him, he would probably come up with an even more vicious way to deal with Yi Zhen in the future. From the looks of it, should he hire 2 more people to protect Yi Zhen? He had this thought in his heart. But he also knew that Yi Zhen would probably not agree. He had spent a lot of effort to persuade her to bring Zhao Li along. As expected, as soon as he mentioned it, Yi Zhen objected. "It's not that exaggerated. I don't believe they dare to do anything in broad daylight. It's better to be safe than sorry." Li Junxing squeezed her palm. "Safety comes first. Uncle Li, don't worry. If the matter of reporting Yi Nanshan really comes to fruition, if he can really leave the family without any money, what will Yi Ningen do bad things with?" Yi Zhen was still very optimistic. The heavens were watching what people did. There was a cost to doing bad things. Back then, Yi Nanshan thought that he could coax Lu Hui to work for him by signing an agreement. However, he didn't know that many years later, that agreement could also ruin his reputation and make him lose everything. Li Junxing looked at Yi Zhen and didn't remind this innocent little girl. Some people's viciousness was deep in their bones. Just look at the fact that Yi Nanshan was willing to sign the agreement back then. In order to stabilize Lu Hui, he had endured for so many years. It could be seen that this person was definitely not what he appeared to be. The little girl was still too inexperienced and lacked some understanding of human nature. In less than a minute, several possible methods that Yi Nanshan might have flashed through his mind, as well as what Chen Wan and her mother might have done. He hugged his little girl tightly and didn't remind her. He would protect her anyway. He wouldn't let others hurt her. It would be good if she could really learn a lesson. It would save her the trouble of trusting others too much in the future. It would not be good for her. He hoped that his little girl could always be innocent, but he also hoped that his little girl could be a little scheming and learn to protect herself. This was the first time he had such complicated emotions. Now that he thought about it, it really made him feel very subtle. Although it was already late autumn, this small room was very warm. Being hugged by him, Yizhen couldn't take it anymore. Hot. Moving away from his embrace, Yizhen patted her slightly red little face. Alright, I really have to go, or else I'll have to work overtime today. Do you need my help? No need. Yizhen turned around to open the door to the lounge. Suddenly he paused and said, By the way, come with me to Grandpa's house after work. What do you mean, Anne? If you bring that agreement to my grandpa's house today, and let him be the plaintiff, my grandpa will definitely suspect our relationship. Since he already suspects it, let him know. As Yizhen spoke, his voice became softer. The two of them were so close now, but Grandpa still didn't know. If I go tonight, my grandfather will probably talk about it for a long time. Don't worry, your grandfather must be very satisfied with me. What a big face. Yizhen's eyes were filled with obvious mockery. She squinted at him. Maybe my grandfather thinks that you're too old for me. Li Junxing narrowed his eyes, and a dangerous light flashed in them. I'm too old. Isn't that so? Yizhen raised her voice. There's a generation gap when you're 3 years old. There's a generation gap between us. If it's not because you're too old, then what is it? Li Junxing got up from the bed. Ignoring the fact that he wasn't dressed yet, he walked directly in front of Yizhen. I'm too old. He pinched her hand that was pulling the door open, and locked it with his other hand. He successfully pressed her against the door. His wheat-colored chest was right in front of her. Yizhen's legs, which had been weak just now, suddenly felt that she couldn't stand still anymore. It looks like Zhenjin isn't satisfied with my performance just now? No. Yizhen's legs were still weak. Her body was tightly pressed against the door, and her head was shaking like a rattle drum. Are you sure? Li Junxing's body moved forward, and Yizhen was so suppressed that she couldn't move. Why do I feel like you're doubting my ability? Since that's the case, I naturally have to prove it to you. Uncle Li, control yourself. Yizhen cleared her throat. Her voice was trembling. From a health point of view, there's only a future if you control yourself. Li Junxing's expression became more and more interesting. So, you're really worried that I won't be able to give you happiness in the future? No. Yizhen was scared to death. She was only thinking about how to escape. The phone in Li Junxing's pocket rang. Yizhen made use of this time to push him, and quickly ran out. Li Junxing looked at her fleeing figure, and shook his head helplessly and dotingly. When he took out his phone and saw the phone number on it, his face darkened. Not many people in the company knew about the confrontation between Yizhen and Yi Nanshan. However, everyone saw that Yi Nanshan's family of 3 came looking for them angrily, but left with even more ugly expressions. This situation was clearly like a signal, letting others know that Yizhen and Yi Nanshan should have won between Yizhen and Yi Nanshan. As a result, during the afternoon meeting, the department managers who had been promoted by Yi Nanshan did not dare to speak out against Yizhen. Yizhen was very satisfied with this change. Although she wasn't afraid of people stirring up trouble, she hoped that the people in the company could work together. However, she was in a good mood. When she got into the car, the corners of her lips were still curled up. What's wrong? Are you in a good mood? Li Junxing put on his clothes and returned to his beast in human clothing appearance. Yizhen's back was slightly sore, but she didn't want to argue with him. Not bad. Is there anything good? There is. There were 2 pending plans that had already been finalized. We should be able to sign the contract in 2 days. Just this. Yes. Yizhen nodded. Since I snatched the position of chairman, of course I hope that I can perform well. Otherwise, won't those people laugh at me? I believe in you. Li Juanxing's words made Yizhen raise the corners of her lips. She moved her face closer to him. Uncle Li, I thank you for your trust. However, you should think about how to make my grandfather accept you. Then what will you do if your grandfather doesn't accept me? Yizhen bit her lip and her face turned bitter. Relationships without the blessings of family members won't be happy. Since my grandfather doesn't accept you, then I can only cut off my love. I'll cut all ties with you. As soon as she said this, Li Junxing pinched her face. Yizhen felt the pain and looked at Li Junxing with some resentment. He hugged her waist, and the distance between the two of them was less than 5 centimeters. Yizhen, let me tell you, even if the whole world opposes us being together, don't even think about cutting all ties with me. He had always been gentle. Yizhen was a little stunned when he suddenly put on such a cold and serious face. She just stared at him blankly. Did you hear me? Li Junxing pinched her palm hard. Yizhen bit her lip and had no choice but to nod. I heard you. Be good. Li Junxing kissed the corner of her lips before sitting back in his seat. Yizhen pursed her lips and looked at Li Junxing. Did he treat her like a child? He was really too much. However, why was there an inexplicable sweetness in her heart? After Lu Manjiang found out about Li Juanxing's intentions this morning, he was very grateful. He and Lu Zhishuan had indeed neglected this point before. If Yizhen went to sue Yi Nanshan, it would inevitably cause gossip. Even if Yi Nanshan was in the wrong, Yizhen would still have to deal with those big shots and bosses in the business world in the future. It was definitely not good to really bear the reputation of a daughter suing her father. At that time, Lu Manjiang only cared about thanking Li Junxing for his reminder. However, after Li Junxing left, he suddenly came to a realization. What was going on? The agreement was clearly given to Yizhen. Why was it in Li Juanxing's hands? Also, as the mayor of a city, why did Li Junxing suddenly care so much about Yizhen? He wanted to wait for Lu Zhishuan to come home at night to talk to him. As a junior about the same age as Yizhen, it was more appropriate for him to ask. Unexpectedly, Yizhen and Li Junxing came. Grandfather. Uncle Lu. Lu Manjiang looked at Li Junxing, who appeared with his granddaughter, and couldn't figure out what he meant. Zhenjin, you're here? His gaze fell on the two of them holding hands. The suspicions that still existed during the day were now confirmed. Lu Manjiang's expression suddenly became very subtle. He looked at the faces of the two people, hoping that things weren't what he thought. Zhenjin, you and Mayor Li Yu. Uncle Lu, I'm dating Zhenjin. Li Junxing pinched Yizhen's palm to not make her too nervous. I'm sorry. I came and left in a hurry this morning, and didn't tell you. It's my fault. He first took the responsibility on himself. Yizhen was a little moved. She glanced at Li Junxing, and felt that this man was really good in every way. Wait. Lu Manjiang was old and couldn't take the stimulation. You said that you're dating Zhenjin? Yes. Do you know what you're talking about? Lu Manjiang looked at him. He actually admired Li Junxing very much. He had come to the house a few times before. He did things reasonably, and his words were watertight. However, Lu Manjiang never thought that one day, this person would be with his granddaughter. You're dating Zhenjin? Yes. Do you know that you're Zhenjin's elder? Lu Manjiang suddenly couldn't accept it. Just now he was still calling him Uncle Lu. How did he turn around and seduce his granddaughter? Uncle Lu. Li Junxing suddenly smiled. We're not really uncle and nephew. I don't think this is a big problem. That was right. But Lu Manjiang was still unhappy. You're so much older than Zhenjin. Even if we're not really uncle and nephew, it's not okay. Not much older. She's only 11 years older. Only 11 years old? How could he say that? Lu Manjiang was furious. He turned his face to look at Yizhen. Zhenjin, are you really with her? Grandpa. Yizhen was confused by Lu Manjiang's reaction. She remembered that Grandpa still admired Li Junxing before. Yes, we've been together for a long time. Then, The last time you brought him back, it wasn't a coincidence, and he didn't ask you to help, right? When Li Junxing sent Yi Jin back last time, Yi Jin only said that they met by chance, and then Li Junxing helped her. So she went to help Li Junxing. She didn't expect the two of them to really be together. Lu Manjiang looked at Yi Jin. He couldn't believe that she was actually with Li Junxing. Do you know who he is? Do you know how old he is? Do you know what he does? You're with him? Grandpa, I've grown up. I know what I'm doing. How did you know? Lu Manjiang looked at his granddaughter and couldn't accept it. He's your uncle. Also, he's so much older than you. Grandpa. Yi Jin was a little helpless. How is he my uncle? My dad doesn't have brothers. Also, it's true that he's older than me, but not by much. What's more, what does love have to do with age? Lu Manjiang was speechless. Yi Jin added, didn't you admire Uncle Li before? See, you also know that you call him Uncle Li. Lu Manjiang pointed at Yi Jin, the expression on his face very interesting. I admire him because he's qualified to be the mayor. But such a person isn't a suitable husband. Why isn't he suitable? Anyway, he's not suitable. Lu Manjiang admitted that Li Junxing was a qualified official, but to be a qualified husband, he felt that it was not enough. Uncle Lu, do you have some misunderstanding about me? Li Junxing spoke at the right time. Before Yi Jin could speak, he pinched her palm and signaled her to stop talking. His expression was magnanimous as he looked directly at Lu Manjiang. Compared to Jinjin, there's indeed a big difference between my profession and my age, but I don't think this will affect our relationship. I'm serious about Jinjin. I've already brought her to meet my parents before. My parents like her very much. In a few days, it's a family holiday. My parents even asked me to bring Jinjin back. Uncle Lu, my father and I both respect you very much. You're a respected old professor in Qing City. I hope to receive your blessings when I'm with Jinjin. Of course, if you insist on using the secular view and your own inherent thoughts to stop us, I will only tell you that it's impossible. Because I'm serious about Jinjin. Yi Jin hadn't been with Li Junxing for a long time. She had always known that he might have liked her a little. However, it was the first time he had expressed his feelings so seriously and said such words in front of her respected grandfather. She couldn't help but look at him and hold his hand tightly. Lu Manjiang looked at the two of them holding hands, and his expression became even uglier. Chapter 805. Jinjin, come here. Seeing that Yi Jin didn't respond, Lu Manjiang called out again. Yi Jin stood there without moving. She looked at Li Junxing, then took a step forward and looked at Lu Manjiang. Grandfather, I like Uncle Li very much. I also seriously want to date him, so I hope you won't object. Can I not object? Lu Manjiang thought of Lu Hui, and there was still sadness on his face. Back then, your mother refused to listen to me. She chose your father. And what happened in the end? You're still young. You've met too few men. And you know too few men. Jinjin, listen to grandfather. Think about it carefully. Don't be impulsive. He had already lost a daughter. This was the only bloodline left by his daughter. How could he let her suffer any more losses? How is this impulsive? I like Uncle Li and Uncle Li likes me. Although you think he might be a little older, I really don't think it's a problem. Moreover, he wasn't much older, okay? It was only an 11-year difference. She felt that it was fine. I don't agree anyway. In Lu Manjiang's heart, his granddaughter was the best. No man in the world was worthy of her. Grandfather. Yi Jin was anxious. She went forward to explain to Lu Manjiang. Lu Manjiang raised his hand. All right, you don't have to say anything. I won't agree anyway. Li Junxing stopped Yi Jin from going forward. He pressed her shoulder and gave her a comforting look, signaling her to calm down. When he turned to face Lu Manjiang, he restrained his usual aura, making him look like the gentle Mayor Li on TV. Uncle Lu, I respect you very much, so I don't quite understand why you're so opposed to me being with Jinjin. Junxing isn't talented, but I think I'm usually clean and upright. There's never been anything that can't be said to others. I treated Jinjin with sincerity. I really can't think of any reason for you to object. Lu Manjiang didn't know what to say for a moment. He could only clear his throat and speak somewhat reluctantly. You're a politician, but Jinjin is a businessman. Your status isn't worthy. What's more, don't think that I don't know that your Li family is a big family. If Jinjin really gets together with you, I'm afraid the pressure will be great. So I don't agree. Uncle Lu, I've actually thought about the problems you're thinking about. Li Junxing looked at Yi Zhen. He was over 30 years old, and this was the first time in his life that he was moved. Naturally, he had already considered all aspects of the matter. If Jinjin really wants to be with me, she just needs to be herself. I won't interfere in any of her affairs or decisions. As Li Junxing spoke, he held Yi Zhen's hand tightly. She can choose to continue doing business or stay in Qing City. I don't need her to do anything for me. The so-called mayor's wife is just a title for her. I won't let it bring any pressure. I want her to be happy. Yi Zhen felt a warm current in his chest, a kind of impulse. She really wanted to hug this man fiercely, but Grandpa was still there, so she could only hold his hand tightly with a faint smile. She tilted her head and looked at him intently. Lu Manjiang's expression darkened when he saw what the two of them were doing. Who doesn't know how to say sweet words? How many of them could actually do it? How many promises did Yi Nanshan make back then? Not to mention the promise, the agreement that he personally signed was still there. But what did Yi Nanshan do after that? Merely, I'll be straightforward. You're indeed amazing. You're so young, yet you're already in a high position. But you're still young. If a man and a woman can stay together for a lifetime with just sweet words, then there won't be so many bitter couples in this world. Uncle Lu, what I said today isn't just what I said, but also what I think in my heart. Lu Manjiang didn't believe her at all, and he didn't want to listen anymore. Merely, please go back. I'll remember your help to the Lu family. But about you and Jinjin, Grandpa. Yi Zhen couldn't help but take a step forward. Grandpa, this is between Uncle Li and me. I'm an adult. I have my own judgment. Can't you trust me once? You, Grandpa. Yi Zhen knew that Grandpa was doing this for her own good. After her mother passed away, Grandpa was extremely sad, although his care and love for her didn't decrease. She understood Grandpa's thoughts, but she didn't want to give up on Li Junxing. I like Uncle Li. I want to be with him. Even if we can't go to the end, I can have such a relationship with Uncle Li. I won't regret it. Li Junxing looked at his girl. She was brave and generous. Her eyes were magnanimous and bright. The more he looked at this little girl, the more he liked her. Jinjin, Dad. Don't object. Lu Zixuan had returned at some point in time. Looking at the three people in the living room, he expressed his attitude. I think Mayor Li and Jinjin are quite suitable. Zixuan, what nonsense are you talking about? How is this nonsense? Lu Zixuan looked at the two of them holding hands. Dad, they're already like this now. It's useless for you to object. Besides, don't you still have us? He stood in front of Li Junxing and looked at him with a hint of intimidation. Mayor Li's identity isn't ordinary. If he really wants to do something to let Jinjin down, isn't there still us? With me here, I'll definitely not let Mayor Li hurt Jinjin. Lu Manjiang's lips moved, and he wanted to say something, but his son's attitude was so domineering, he couldn't say the rest of his words. Mayor Li, although Jinjin isn't valued by her father, she's the treasure of our Lu family. If you do something to let Jinjin down, or dare to make Jinjin sad in the future, our Lu family will definitely not let it go. Is Mayor Li ready? Li Junxing faced Lu Zixuan with a magnanimous expression. Don't worry, you won't have that chance. I hope so. After Lu Zixuan finished threatening him, he thought of something else. Speaking of which, I really have something to ask Mayor Li today. In that case, why don't we sit down and talk slowly? Yi Zhen said at the right time. Lu Zixuan and Li Junxing looked at her together. She stuck out her tongue and smiled. What Lu Zixuan wanted to talk about was nothing more than Yi Nanshan. He wasn't an idiot. Although Yi Zhen only asked Lu Manjiang to come forward and carry out the agreement, he could tell something different. And he couldn't tell Lu Manjiang about this. He thought that Yi Zhen wouldn't know, and he didn't intend to let Yi Zhen know. If Yi Zhen really knew that his mother's death might have something to do with his father, he would probably be even more sad. He didn't know that Yizhen already knew, and had some guesses. However, this was just his guess, so he wanted to tell Li Junqing first. After all, he could do more and find more connections than him. Perhaps he could find more evidence. Li Junqing and Lu Zhixuan used the excuse of discussing business to go to the study. Yizhen stayed behind to chat with her grandfather. She didn't know what Lu Zhixuan wanted to talk to Li Junqing about, but she trusted her uncle. She believed that with Lu Zhixuan's personality, he wouldn't make things difficult for Li Junqing. Lu Manjiang wasn't really dissatisfied with Li Junqing. He just didn't want his daughter's only love to be with a man like this. He always felt a little unhappy. Yizhen spent a lot of effort to coax Lu Manjiang. In the end, she finally made him much happier. But there was one thing. No matter what, he had to be happy. Yizhen knew that she wasn't Lu Hui, and Li Junqing wouldn't be Yi Nanshan. A person who was educated by a family like the Li family wouldn't be bad. She believed in her own judgment. Yizhen and Li Junqing had dinner at the Lu family's house. After Li Junqing returned home, he didn't hide anything and told Yizhen about Lu Zhixuan's suspicions. I didn't expect your uncle to be such a sensitive person. I didn't expect that just asking them to sue Yi Nanshan would make him think so much. When Li Junqing spoke of Lu Zhixuan, there was obvious admiration in his eyes. Speaking of which, Lu Zhixuan was also a talented and capable person. With him around, the Lu family would definitely rise to a higher level. Uncle actually knows? Yizhen didn't want her grandfather and uncle to know. But I don't have any evidence now. It's okay. I'm already looking for it. I believe there will be results soon. Li Junqing squeezed her hand. Don't worry. Now, let your father spit out the company's shares first. I'm afraid he won't agree so easily. So we can only do it the hard way. Li Junqing looked at Yizhen, and didn't want her to worry too much. Don't worry with me, your uncle and your grandfather here. Yi Nanshan won't be able to get away with it this time. What he had to pay attention to was Yizhen's safety. Lu Zhixuan and Lu Manjiang acted quickly. The two of them submitted a complaint to the court the next day. The information about Yizhen and Yi Nanshan's lawsuit was still there. She gave a copy of the information to Li Junqing. When Li Junqing took the agreement and asked Lu Manjiang and his son to sue Yi Nanshan, he explained everything clearly. It was even more detailed than what Yizhen had given her. Yi Nanshan didn't expect the Lu family to act so quickly. Yesterday he went to consult a lawyer. The lawyer didn't see the original text of the agreement. He just heard Yi Nanshan say that, and felt that it wasn't good. He told Yi Nanshan that the agreement was really legal. If Yizhen really took this agreement to sue Yi Nanshan, and asked him to fulfill it, Yi Nanshan couldn't do anything. The only point that could be cut in was that when the agreement was signed, it was already more than 10 years ago. If Yi Nanshan didn't want to hand over the property, it could only be said that the appreciation of the painting company in the past 10 years was not included. Then, the appreciation of the painting company in the past 10 years could continue to be divided into two. That was also one for Yizhen and one for him. When Yi Nanshan heard this, he didn't say anything. Chen Wanxian couldn't take it anymore. How could there be such a thing? That little B***TCH didn't do anything and gave the company to her? Dream on. Mrs. Yi, don't get agitated. Lawyer Ding knew what she was thinking. Seriously speaking, there's no other way. But there are other things we can do. What? You were judged to have been threatened. The agreement is invalid. Also, Yizhen was Mr. Ye's daughter after all. She's unfilial, and used public opinion to make her afraid to sue you. On the other side, Yi Nanshan was still thinking that Yizhen wouldn't really dare to sue him. After all, he was her biological father. But on the other side, the person who came to sue him changed from Yizhen to Lu Manjiang. Yi Nanshan was caught off guard. When he saw the subpoena sent by the court, he couldn't think of anything for a moment. He could only go to Lawyer Ding again. Yizhen was relieved when she knew that the case had been accepted. No matter how it was judged, Yi Nanshan wouldn't be able to get away with it. And she just had to wait for the result. Before that, she needed to think of a way to find out the truth behind Lu Hui's death. It was true that Yi Nanshan had a change of heart, but she absolutely believed that Lu Hui's death was an accident. With her uncle's help, Ling Xian, and Li Juanqing's attention, she believed that the matter would definitely be solved. She was very busy during this period of time, and Li Juanqing was also very busy during this period of time. Li Juanqing was implicated in the factory explosion last time, although he was fine in the end. But for Li Juanqing, it was an opportunity. Those in the dark who wanted to drag him down from his horse. He had to keep a close eye on them. Yi Zheng could feel that Li Juanqing was busy, and so could she. The change of power in the painting company had passed, and the company slowly stabilized. Many of the cooperation projects had begun to negotiate again, and wanted to sign a contract again. It was also at this time that the news of Yi Zhen suing her father broke out. After careful consideration, Yi Nanshan decided to guide the wind in this direction. Although Yi Zhen didn't appear, why did Lu Manjiang appear? Wasn't it because of you, Yi Zhen? Since you won't let me live well, why should I let you live well? Under Yi Ningen and Chun Wan's repeated persuasion, Yi Nanshan agreed, and dragged Yi Zhen into the water. Yi Zhen had just taken over the company not long ago. It was the time to build up his prestige, but now, he suddenly fell into such a vortex. A post appeared on the internet. It was a very popular forum in the local area. Then, the content of the post was to dig deep into the dirty affairs of a local listed company. It mentioned that a woman with the surname Y had driven her biological father out of the company for the sake of the company and the property. She had even sued her father for the property. Yi Zhen had an appointment with the boss of Tengda Company that day, who knew that not long after they sat down, the boss of Tengda Company called to say that the other party was very busy. He was not free, and would make an appointment another day. It wasn't just Tengda. The next day, when another company wanted to discuss a cooperation, they suddenly stood up. After this happened several times in a row, Yi Zhen realized that something was wrong. Before she could ask someone to find out what was going on, Chu Te told her first. Chu Te found the post and showed it to Yi Zhen. In a few days, the number of comments on the post had exceeded 100,000, and there were tens of thousands of shares. Almost all of them were one-sided accusations against this daughter. All of them were scolding her for being inhumane, and even suing her biological father. Not only that, but the comments below were also trying to set the pace. Chapter 806. There were all kinds of negative comments and accusations, and people could feel the hostility even through the screen. Yi Zhen looked at the post, and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She wouldn't even have a trace of sadness. She just thought it was ridiculous. Did Yi Nanshan run out of tricks? She actually dared to hire the internet water army to smear her name? Didn't he know that she didn't care about other people's evaluation of her? If she was sad about such things every day, then she didn't want to live anymore. But, Chairman Yi, I think you should get someone to deal with it quickly. Chu Te thought more than Yi Zhen. Those companies suddenly stood us up and said they don't want to cooperate. They might have this intention. If we don't solve it soon, our company's reputation will go down the drain. How could others dare to cooperate with an unfilial ruler who could abandon his own father? Although the cooperation was between two companies, personal feelings shouldn't be involved. But the people who cooperated with them wouldn't think like that. They would only listen to what they heard, see what they saw, and then make their own judgment. What Chu Te understood, Yi Zhen naturally understood too. I got it. Thank you, Chu Te. Although it was a rumor, if it wasn't solved, the impact would be huge. Letting Chu Te leave first, Yi Zhen looked at the page in front of her and silently rubbed her forehead. Yi Nanshan was really her good father. The phone rang. Ling Xian's voice sounded anxious. Zhenjin, are you okay? I'm fine. I saw the post online. What's going on? What did your father say? Didn't he sue you? Yi Zhen briefly explained the matter. Ling Xian was furious. Zhenjin, you're really too easy to talk to. If you ask me, you can't deal with it like this. Yes, what do you want to say? He can post, so can we. We can also post about how evil your father was in the past, and how despicable he is now. After Ling Xian finished speaking, she felt that she had said something wrong. No matter how bad Yi Nanshan was, he was still Yi Zhen's father. It didn't seem right for her to scold him like this. Zhenjinai. It's okay. I understand what you mean. Yi Zhen's heart didn't waver at all. Yi Nanshan was definitely a model scumbag. What's your plan now? My grandfather and uncle came forward to sue him, but he still managed to drag me into it. This can only mean that he's at his wit's end. There's no better way. Yi Zhen thought of Yi Nanshan. He had done something to her. Should she do the same? Xian, I'll send you a document later. Take a look and find someone to write a post about it. Okay. Ling Xian's voice immediately became spirited. You should have done this a long time ago. She really couldn't stand it. You shouldn't have let him off during the trial. You should have let the whole of Qingqing know about the bad things he did. I really want to slap your stepsister when I think of her pretentious face. All right. Yi Zhen laughed in spite of herself. We won't be jumping for too long. Don't worry. I know what to do. When Li Junqing returned home, he found that Yi Zhen was obviously in a bad mood. He was very busy during this period of time. He had to deal with the aftermath of the factory. There was also the matter of being reported. Although it was fine now. However, there were still many loose ends to deal with. Therefore, a few days ago, he didn't notice that Yi Zhen was being defamed on the internet. It was also Secretary Chen who knew that he valued Yi Zhen, so he would tell him if there was any news. He had just seen the post, and just found out that the little girl had been bullied again without him knowing. He walked to Yi Zhen and sat down next to her. He held her hand in his. I've already sent someone to deal with it. I don't think we'll see that post tomorrow. It's okay. I've already asked Ling Xian to deal with it. As long as he posted another post and suppressed the previous popularity, it shouldn't be a big problem. Do you need my help with anything else? If he hadn't specially cared about her today, he wouldn't have known that so many people were making things difficult for his little girl behind the scenes. He really couldn't bear it. No need. Yi Zhen knew that his heart was enough. She shook her head. Don't worry. I can do it. I don't need your help. If there's something you can't solve, or if they're too much, you must tell me. Okay. Yi Zhen smiled. Li Junqing's indulgent attitude and doting eyes made her gloominess dissipate. Uncle Li, don't worry. If I really need your help, I won't stand on ceremony. However, if she could solve this business matter by herself, she would solve it by herself. Not only could Li Junqing think of a way to make her live a comfortable life, but she also wanted him to worry less. Other than blood relatives, who would take their efforts for granted. She understood the logic. She wouldn't squander Li Junqing's sincerity endlessly. Li Junqing looked at the little girl's bright eyes and gently pulled her into his arms. What a silly girl. Only when you love someone will you indulge yourself. It didn't matter if the little girl didn't want to rely on him. He believed that after a long time, the little girl would understand. Whether it was a couple or a couple, they were all one. There were some things that really didn't need to be calculated too clearly, nor did it need to be said too clearly. Soon, another post appeared under that post. The so-called Truewood Eyes. The post began to write about everything that had happened between Yi Nanshan and Lu Hui from a storytelling point of view, including the name of the company and Lu Hui's contributions to the company over the years. There was no real name used in this post, only a nickname. For example, a certain boss, the original wife, and the mistress. The original wife in the post was still running around when she was pregnant. Not long after she gave birth to the child, she started running around for the company again. Later, her health deteriorated, and she never had a second child. But at this time, what was the mistress doing? The post was very clear. Not only was it clear, but there was also a timeline. For example, the mistress's daughter was only a few months younger than the original wife's daughter. What did this mean? Another example was that after the original wife found out that her husband had an affair, her health plummeted. There wasn't much said here. After all, Yi Zhen was still investigating what happened back then. But this evidence was enough. Below the post that scolded her, there were still many people criticizing her. However, a lot of people went to read the new post. In the end, many people couldn't help but curse. F***ck. How can a scumbag be so shameless? It's simply ruining my worldview. A scumbag and a mistress are a match made in heaven. Poor original wife. blind to meet a scumbag. Please search for this scumbag. Please search for the daughter of this scumbag and his mistress. From today onwards, there is finally a man who is even scummier than Chinshimi back then. There is no scumbag, only scumbag. As expected, a phoenix man can't be tolerated. Yijin picked some replies and glanced at them. When she realized that the wind was beginning to turn in the other direction, she was more or less relieved. At the same time, the court announced the time of the trial. The verdict for Yi Nanshan's extramarital affair was to be carried out. In fact, this was the first time that the Qing City Court had dealt with such a matter. Although Yi Nanshan had an affair, his original wife was no longer around. Now the original father and brother were the plaintiffs, asking for a redistribution of the inheritance. This kind of thing had never happened before. The Qing City Court had originally thought that this matter would be held in secret like the last time. Unexpectedly, this time, Lu Manjiang said that he wanted to hold a public trial. Yijin knew that if the trial was held in public, the Yi family's background would immediately become the subject of public discussion. She didn't want to see such a thing happen. After all, family scandals should not be aired in public. But now, she changed her mind because she really didn't want Yi Nanshan to be too proud. Since he didn't care about his face, why should she give him face? Li Junqing had a meeting to attend today. It was autumn, and he was wearing an iron gray suit. If a man wore such a color, he would probably look old. However, he was handsome and had a gentle and elegant temperament. Not only did he not look old, but he also looked a little more abstinent. After dinner, he looked at Yijin, who had a serious expression, and reached out to pinch her palm. "Don't be nervous, we won't lose." Yijin shook her head. "I'm not afraid of losing." Lawyer Tang had specially met with them yesterday, and had already told them all the possible outcomes. Although the agreement was still valid, more than 10 years had passed. In addition, one of the real plaintiffs, Lu Hui, was no longer around. In fact, there was still the possibility of other situations happening. Lawyer Tang was an expert in economic lawsuits. He said that he would do his best. However, he also had to consider other possible outcomes. Yijin sighed when she met Li Junqing's seemingly puzzled gaze. "I was just thinking about my mother. If Lu Hui knew that the person she finally fell in love with and insisted on being with was such a scumbag, would she regret it?" Li Junqing didn't say anything. In fact, the previous investigation had already made great progress. However, there was still a lack of evidence. "Junjin, do you want me to go with you?" "No need." Yijin shook her head. "Uncle Li, go to work. Don't worry. No matter what the outcome is, I can accept it." Li Junqing smiled and reached out to gently tap her nose. "And remember, no matter what the outcome is, you still have me." Yijin nodded heavily, stood on her tiptoes and kissed his lips. There were a lot of people in the court today. Many of those who came to attend the hearing had read the post. Although there was a post at the back, many people were already prejudiced. They stood on Yi Nanshan's side, especially those who liked to hold up the banner of filial piety. They felt that Yijin was simply a model of unfilial daughter. Yijin didn't care about those people's gazes. In fact, she was neither the defendant nor the plaintiff today. As an observer, all she needed to do was sit in the spectator seats. Soon the trial began. First, the plaintiff, who was Lu Manjiang's side, presented their own evidence and expressed their claims. Lu Manjiang held the agreement. This agreement had been notarized after Yi Nanshan had signed it. It does have legal validity. When Yi Nanshan looked at the agreement, his expression was quite ugly. Lawyer Ding, who was next to him, patted his shoulder and gave him a comforting look. Yijin saw this scene. Her brows furrowed slightly. Chapter 807. Yijin looked worriedly in the direction of Lu Manjiang and Lu Zhishuan. Lu Manjiang didn't notice his granddaughter's gaze. After asking Lawyer Tang to submit all the evidence, he faced the judge with a sad expression. "Your Honor, I only have one daughter. Her mother passed away when she was very young. I really don't have high expectations for this daughter. I just want her to live a safe and happy life." But all of this was destroyed by Yi Nanshan. As Lu Manjiang's side submitted more and more evidence to the court, Yi Nanshan's actions were naturally exposed. It was a fact that he had cheated and treated Yi Zhen badly. Since he had already cheated, then it should be judged according to the facts. The shares of the entire shogi company must be given to Lu Hui. And Lu Hui had already passed away. That was to give all the shares of the company to Lu Hui's daughter, Yi Zhen. This was Lu Manjiang's request. He hoped to give all the shares in Yi Nanshan's hands to Yi Zhen. After Lu Manjiang finished his request, Lawyer Ding, who was sitting next to Yi Nanshan, stood up. Your Honor, I object. We also have evidence. Lawyer Ding submitted the evidence prepared by Yi Nanshan. Part of it was that Lu Hui had been dead for so many years, but the shogi company had been supported by Lu Shan for so many years. It was completely unreasonable to let Yi Nanshan leave the family with nothing. In more than 10 years, the market value of the shogi company had increased more than 10 times. The growth of the past 10 years could not be counted as 10 years ago. 10 years ago, Yi Nanshan's shares were not worth anything at all. Naturally, there was no need to give shogi much money. The judge was silent. Based on the market value, what the other party said made some sense. But the specific operations still needed to be discussed, or to see if the two sides could communicate well. Before Lu Manjiang could provide more evidence, Lawyer Ding spoke again. The above is based on the request put forward by the other party and our view. Of course, we now have a new view. My defendant has evidence to prove that Lu Hui cheated during the continuation of the marriage. As he spoke, Lawyer Ding looked at Lu Manjiang and his son opposite him. So my client requests that the plaintiff compensate for the loss and the loss of reputation. As soon as this was said, the audience in the trial booed. No one had expected such a reversal. Nonsense. Yi Zhen stood up abruptly and looked in the direction of Lawyer Ding and Yi Nanshan in shock. Quiet. The judge knocked on the table. Yi Zhen's expression was ugly. Lu Manjiang and Lu Zhishuan both glared at Yi Nanshan. Defendant, you said that Lu Hui cheated. Do you have any evidence? Of course. As Lawyer Ding spoke, he took out a piece of paper. This is the evidence. As they were too far away, Yi Zhen couldn't see what the other party was holding. However, she believed in her mother. She believed that her mother would never cheat on Yi Nanshan. She did not expect Yi Nanshan to be so despicable. Even at this time, he still wanted to bite back. Lawyer Ding handed the document to the judge. This is a paternity test report. The results show that my client, Mr. Yi Nanshan, and his daughter, Yi Zhen, are not father and daughter. In other words, Lu Hui also cheated during the marriage. That is all. I hope the court will take my client's request seriously. As for the agreement left behind by Madame Lu Hui, we need to re-evaluate it. You're talking nonsense. Yi Zhen glared at Yi Nanshan. You won't even let my mother go after her death. Yi Nanshan, how can you do this? Quiet, quiet. The judge knocked on the table again. How could Yi Zhen be quiet? Not to mention her mother's tragic death. She couldn't even keep her reputation after her death. Lu Manjiang and Lu Zhishuan looked at each other. They did not expect such a reversal at all. Lu Zhishuan was the first to react. He quickly said a few words in Lawyer Tang's ear. Lawyer Tang nodded and stood up. Your Honor, I have a different opinion. What opinion? The defendant just provided a paternity test report. However, as far as I know, Madame Yi Zhen has never done a paternity test with Yi Nanshan. Can I say that the results of this paternity test may be fake? Impossible. Lawyer Ding did not give his opponent such a chance. Yi Zhen has indeed not done a paternity test with my client. However, we have taken the hair that Yi Zhen left at home and tested it with my client. Therefore, the results of this test are true and valid. True and valid is what you said. Your Honor, the defendant did the test without my client's approval. I have every reason to suspect that the results are fake. That's just your suspicion. Fine. Since you said that the test is real, and the defendant believes that my client Madame Lu Hui is having an affair, then you wouldn't mind doing another paternity test, right? Your Honor, I strongly request that the defendant Yi Nanshan and Miss Yi Zhen do another paternity test. Guilt flashed in Yi Nanshan's eyes. Others did not notice that trace of emotion, but Lu Hui, who had been staring at him, did. She felt a huge surge of anger in her heart. The feeling of anger? She did not expect Yi Nanshan to be so despicable. For the sake of shares, for the sake of money, he slandered her mother's innocence. He could even abandon her as his daughter and deny her. Your Honor, as the key person in this matter, I also strongly request that Mr. Yi Nanshan and I do another paternity test. Also, I hope that this test will be conducted under the supervision of the relevant staff of the court, to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Your Honor, our results are out. There is no need for a new test. What's more, this is not today's topic. How is it not today's topic? Lawyer Tang did not give in to Lawyer Ding. You already said that my client Lu Hui had an affair. Since that is the case, of course, I have to prove my client's innocence. Your Honor, Lawyer Ding wanted to say something, but the judge on the dais knocked on the table again. Quiet. The plaintiff's request is reasonable. The court agrees to another paternity test for the defendant. Immediately, the court will carry it out. Yi Zhen breathed a sigh of relief. The court also announced that there was insufficient evidence and new developments. Therefore, before they received the paternity test report for Yi Nanshan and Yi Zhen, the court adjourned temporarily. This result was both good and bad news. After the hearing ended, Yi Zhen rushed to Yi Nanshan immediately. Dad, are you really not afraid that my mother will come to you in the middle of the night? Yi Nanshan did not even look at Yi Zhen. He was confident that no matter how many paternity tests were done, the results would be the same. Yi Zhen looked at Yi Nanshan and seemed to understand something. I see. Yi Nanshan should have thought of this long ago, right? He had always thought that he was not good to her. He was not good to her before Lu Hui's death. After Lu Hui's death, he was even worse to her. She had always thought that Yi Nanshan was cold-hearted and only loved money. Now, it seemed that there were other twists and turns that she did not know. Looking at Yi Nanshan's expression, it was clear that he and she were not father and daughter. In this way, all the cold treatment in the past could be explained. No wonder. Yi Nanshan looked at Yi Zhen coldly. There was no warmth on his face. Yi Zhen nodded. Since Mr. Yi is so confident, then please. True gold fears no fire. She did not believe it. Lu Manjiang and Lu Zhishuan looked at Yi Nanshan. They almost wanted to beat him up. However, in the court, there were not only onlookers around, but also reporters who came to interview and gossip. Yi Nanshan and Yi Zhen, accompanied by the court staff, went to the test center together. Lu Manjiang and Lu Zhishuan returned to the Lu family home first. The trial had not yet come to a conclusion, but the online post had been updated. The title, What a Mess the Noble Circle Is, was very eye-catching. The content of the post was nothing more than saying that Lu Hui had also cheated and was unfaithful to her marriage. If this was the case, then what right did Yi Zhen have to sue his own father? Disgusting. She is clearly not his biological daughter, yet she wants to seize what doesn't belong to her. So shameless. Her own mother gave birth to an illegitimate child with another man, yet she wants to divide the property? So disgusting. I've never seen such a person before. So shameless. Those posts quickly spread. By the time Yi Zhen and Yi Nanshan returned home after the paternity test, the post had been forwarded and commented on even more than the previous one. The post that Ling Xian had asked someone to post had long since been forgotten. Even if there were one or two people who spoke up, they were quickly taken over by the internet water army. They all started to scold the most shameless first wife, an illegitimate daughter in the history of Qingcheng. Yi Zhen had just returned home when he received a call from Ling Xian. Ling Xian's tone was very urgent. Zhenzhen, have you seen the post? No. What post? Yi Zhen didn't know what Ling Xian was talking about, but she still went online as fast as she could and opened the local forum. The post that said that the circle of the rich was really messy had already been pinned. She looked at the content on top and the curses of the netizens below. She was so angry that her hand holding the mouse was trembling. Yi Nanshan, Yi Ningen and Chen Wan. You guys are so shameless. Especially Yi Nanshan. Hateful, too hateful. She couldn't help but tremble. She was so angry that her breathing became ragged. The veins on the back of her hand popped out. Just as she was about to smash the mouse in hatred, her body was surrounded by a warm embrace. Li Junqing hugged her tightly and gently patted her back. Relax, relax. I'm here. Jinjin, I'm here. Calm down. I hate him, I really hate him. I can't wait to kill him. What company, what shares, nothing was important to her. But her mother Lu Hui was the last soft place in her heart, her bottom line. She wouldn't allow Yi Nanshan to ruin Lu Hui's reputation like this. This is too much. How can he be so much? How could there be such a ruthless person in the world? A day as husband and wife meant 100 days of love. Could it be that to Yi Nanshan, the things that his mother had done for him were completely ungrateful? Jinjin. Li Junqing felt her body tremble and his heart ached. He hugged her tightly. Yijin buried her face in Li Junqing's chest. She felt her heart ache. For Lu Hui, and for her. Jinjin, calm down. Listen to me. This matter is about to end. He comforted Yijin's hand, and opened her tightly clenched fingers one by one, afraid that she would hurt herself. Li Junqing's voice was full of heartache and unintentional pity. Jinjin, I found the evidence. This sentence made Yijin suddenly raise her head. She looked at Li Junqing, her eyes filled with disbelief. Her body hadn't recovered from the stiffness. She just stared at him in a daze. What did you say? I said, I've already found the cause of your mother's death. The huge surprise made Yijin unable to come back to her senses. Really? It's true. During this period of time, Li Junqing had been asking people to investigate this matter. Although it was a long time ago, it wasn't that there were no clues to be found. Everything that had been done would leave traces. Chenwan's hand had been very long back then. For the time being, he wasn't sure if Yi Nanshan knew about it. But whether he knew or not, this matter had already come to an end. Who? Yijin suddenly grabbed the front of Li Junqing's shirt. At that moment, her eyes were filled with hatred. Jinjin. Li Junqing couldn't bear to see her like this. His girl. As long as she was happy and carefree, it was fine. He would be the one to deal with the dark side of things. Jinjin, this is the evidence. I've already asked people to find the witnesses. They've been locked up in secret. I asked Director Chen to deal with this matter. He's very experienced. Don't worry, he won't make any more mistakes. Who exactly is it? Yijin had to know who her enemy was. Li Junqing hugged her body in his arms again and kept patting her back. Jinjin, everything will be judged by the law. I know you hate me, and I know what you want to do. But these things shouldn't be done by you. I just want to know who it is. Your family used to have a nanny who worked as a maid. Her name is Wang Chunhua. Li Junqing briefly told him what had happened. Wang Chunhua came from the countryside. Her family wasn't well off at that time. Her man was accidentally hit by a car, and after the driver escaped, she still needed a lot of money to treat him. When Wang Chunhua was at her wit's end, she was met by Lu Hui. She had always been kind and felt pity for Wang Chunhua. She let her enter the Yi family as a nanny. At first it was fine. Wang Chunhua received Lu Hui's kindness and did her best to do things. But later on, her man's treatment costs increased. She had no choice but to listen to Chen Wan's instigation. Chen Wan agreed to pay for her man's treatment. And in order to treat her man's illness, she finally agreed to Chen Wan's request and poisoned Lu Hui. She was also naive. She believed what Chen Wan said. The poison didn't have much effect. It only made people weak. When the time came, she wouldn't be in the mood to deal with business and make Yi Nanshan unhappy. Only then would she have a chance to get promoted. However, she didn't know that the slow-acting poison would slowly corrode a person's internal organs. Yijin's body went soft. She looked at Li Junqing in a daze. She couldn't believe that her mother had died at the hands of such a person. Chapter 808. How could there be such a thing? How could there be such a person? Yijin also remembered a little about Wang Chunhua, a woman from the countryside. When she first came, she was still a little timid. Although she was young at that time, there was a period of time when she felt that Wang Chunhua really didn't look good. She was afraid everywhere, and didn't even dare to speak loudly. If it weren't for this, she wouldn't have remembered such a person. But it was such a person who had caused her mother's death. Ah! She couldn't help but curl up her body in Li Juanqing's arms. Li Juanqing's face was full of heartache, but this time, even his words of comfort seemed weak. Zhenjin, don't be sad. The dead are gone. Your mother wouldn't want to see you like this. Yi Zhen's gums were clenched tightly, and the huge hatred made her facial features scrunch up. I want revenge. I want to make them pay the price. Okay, everything's okay. Li Juanqing could understand her feelings. His hand moved up and down her back. Calm down first. You won't be able to do anything like this. Yi Zhen didn't say anything. With great difficulty, she finally calmed down and looked up at Li Juanqing. Which police station is Wang Chunhua at now? Yes. Don't worry. I'll ask Chief Chen to get someone to keep an eye on her. I won't let her have a chance to run away. As if to comfort Yi Zhen, Li Juanqing pulled her hand over and held it in his. We went to look for her this time. At first we didn't find her, and it didn't go well. But later, when we found her, she admitted to her crimes very readily. Do you know why? Yi Zhen looked at Li Juanqing. He paused for a moment. Her man is dead. Not only her man, but she and her man also have a son and a daughter. They're all dead. She said it was retribution, so when we came to her door, she admitted to her crime very readily. Wang Chunhua had poisoned Lu Hui back then to get money to treat her man's illness. However, she didn't expect that her man's illness wasn't cured in the end. Later, after spending all the money, her man still died. After her man died, her son and daughter also died one after another because of accidents. Yi Zhen's mood didn't fluctuate. She wasn't a saint and wouldn't sympathize with the person who had hurt her mother. However, are you sure that both of her children's deaths were accidents? Why did she feel that Chunwan might have done it? Because she wanted to silence them. Since Chunwan could think of poisoning Lu Hui, there was no guarantee that she wouldn't make a move on Wang Chunhua in order to intimidate her and prevent her from talking about what happened in the past. Li Juanqing fell into deep thought when he heard that. He thought of the information he had gathered. Wang Chunhua's son didn't go to college. After graduating from high school, he went to learn a trade. Later, he found a woman from the same village. They were about to get married, but she suddenly fell into the river and drowned. How deep could the river in the countryside be? It was just a small river. And her daughter, who was working outside and doing well, died in a car accident. Although it was called retribution, this matter was indeed suspicious. Yes, I will send someone to check it out. If it was really Chunwan's doing, then it could only be said that this woman was too terrifying. But don't worry. Regardless of whether Wang Chunhua's children were an accident or not, it is a fact that Chunwan instructed her to poison your mother. She can't escape the punishment of the law either. Yes. Yi Zhen nodded. When she met Li Juanqing's comforting gaze, she hugged him tightly. Uncle Li, thank you. Ling Xian couldn't find anything after investigating for so long, but he found it. He always said that it didn't matter if she used him, but his help to her was no longer something that could be explained with a drop of water. Silly girl. Li Juanqing pinched her little face. You never have to say thank you to me. Yi Zhen's reaction was to reach out and wrap her arms around his waist, burying her face in his chest again. The online post had been deleted. How could Li Juanqing allow those people to slander his mother-in-law like this? There were new posts, but they were quickly deleted and suppressed by others. On the contrary, the post that Ling Xian had someone expose had always been at the top of the forum. Yi Zhen didn't care whether the company would suffer losses or not, nor did she care about her reputation outside. But she cared about Lu Hui. Lu Hui was no longer around, but Lu Hui's reputation couldn't be lost. This was her last bottom line, so she didn't refuse Li Juanqing's help. 2 days later, the results of the paternity test came out. Neither Yi Zhen's side nor Yi Nanshan's side were notified. Instead, the court directly went to get the results. Another 2 days later, the trial began. This time, Li Juanqing handed the new evidence he found to lawyer Tang again. Yi Zhen didn't see the paternity test, so she didn't know what the results were. But she believed in her mother. She believed that with Lu Hui's character, it was impossible for her to do such a thing. Everything that followed was more like a wrangle. The results of the paternity test showed that Yi Zhen was 99.9% likely to be Yi Nanshan's daughter. In front of the evidence, Yi Nanshan had nothing to say. Chen Wan wanted to say something, but she could only listen from the sidelines now. Looking at Chen Wan's face, and thinking that her mother had died in the hands of such a woman, Yi Zhen was furious. Li Junqing patted Yi Zhen's hand. He came to attend the trial with her today. When he first arrived, the judge was nervous. He didn't understand why a small trial would alarm the mayor. But when he saw Yi Zhen and Li Junqing holding hands together, the judge's forehead was sweating. It's okay. I'm just here to listen as a family member. You guys do things according to principles. Don't worry about anyone. Li Junqing spoke frankly. They entered the court earlier. Later, many onlookers came over. Everyone saw Li Junqing and thought that the man was really good-looking, but no one thought of him as the mayor. After all, who had nothing better to do in the city and came to watch such a trial. The trial continued, and the two sides were arguing fiercely. Yi Zhen was Yi Nanshan's daughter, so there was no evidence that Lu Hui had an affair. Lawyer Ding changed his tune and continued to talk about Yi Nanshan's contributions to the company over the past decade. If he wanted to say that, Lawyer Tang also had evidence. In the past few years, because of the foundation laid by Lu Hui and the Lu family's connections, Yi Nanshan was able to continue to run the company well after losing Lu Hui. Both sides insisted on their own arguments. Yi Nanshan sat in the defendant's seat and looked at Yi Zhen in the audience. Li Junqing regretted not asking Yi Zhen to sign the transfer of the shares when she was still underage. The trial was still going on, but Lawyer Tang suddenly stood up. Your Honor, I have a new piece of evidence to submit now. What? My client has evidence to prove that Ms. Lu Hui's death was not an accident. Therefore, I strongly request that Your Honor review it again after seeing all the evidence on our side. Before the court could react, someone in uniform entered the court. They walked directly in front of Chen Wan. Hello, you're Chen Wan, right? Yes. Chen Wan was dumbfounded when she heard Lawyer Tang say that Lu Hui's death was not an accident. Before she could react, the police arrived. We now suspect that you are involved in a murder case. Please come with us. Are you kidding me? Yi Ningen stood up and reached out to stop them, but it was too late. Chen Wan was taken away by the police. Such a sudden turn of events stunned everyone. The judge was stunned. How could they arrest someone in such a way? He looked at Li Junqing, who was sitting in the audience, and felt that it should have been like this. With such an accident, Ni's trial was suspended again. Yi Nanshan applied for an adjournment. After the judge announced the adjournment, he directly rushed to Yi Zhen. You unfilial daughter, what did you do? Mr. Yi. Li Junqing was standing beside Yi Zhen. So Yi Zhen was not afraid of Yi Nanshan at all. You shouldn't ask me what I did now. You should ask your good wife, my good aunt, what she did. You. Yi Nanshan raised his hand and was about to teach Yi Zhen a lesson, but his hand was grabbed by Li Junqing. Mr. Yi, this is in court. Are you sure you want to leave more evidence to change the judge's opinion of you? Yi Nanshan was furious, but he could only let it go. Yi Ningen looked at the scene in front of her, and a huge feeling of unease surged in her heart. Her mother was probably in big trouble this time. 2 days later, the court made a final decision. The agreement signed by Yi Nanshan was notarized and was true and valid. It was a fact that Yi Nanshan had cheated, and there was no problem with Lu Manjiang's request to carry out the agreement. However, Lawyer Ding's request also made some sense. In the past 10 years, the shares under Yi Nanshan's name had increased a lot. The final result was that the court ruled that Yi Nanshan should keep 5% of the shares, and the rest should be given to Yi Zhen. As for the other movable and immovable assets under his name, they would still be left to Yi Nanshan for the time being. Lu Manjiang had no intention of killing him. If things really went that far, Yi Zhen would probably be condemned by others again. This was the decision of Lu Zhishuan and Lu Manjiang. Lu Hui had passed away. According to the inheritance law, Lu Manjiang also had a share of her assets. Lu Manjiang didn't want this share, but directly asked Yi Nanshan to transfer the shares to Yi Zhen. Yi Nanshan didn't accept this ruling and asked for another appeal. But he didn't wait for another appeal. The police had already formally filed a lawsuit against Chun Wan on behalf of the prosecution, and the charge was murder. The court's ruling and the police's complaint against Chun Wan caused the entire shogi group to fall into a storm. However, Yi Zhen, who had experience, wasn't afraid at all. She asked Ling Xian to find someone to write another post. This time, the title was Uncovering Those Scary Mistresses. The post continued to follow the original post in detail, focusing on how Chun Wan harmed people. Wang Chunhua had been caught and had pleaded guilty. It was a fact that Chun Wan had ordered her to poison people. These two things were clear. The post made it very clear that Chun Wan, as a mistress, had caused the death of the first wife. And Yi Zhen, as the daughter who had been left behind, wanted to take back the assets and avenge her mother. What was wrong with that? On the other hand, Yi Nanshan was a scumbag to the bone. Not only had he cheated, but because of his cheating, he had facilitated Lu Hui's death. Seriously speaking, Yi Nanshan could also be considered a murderer. The position of the post was clear, and the thinking was clear. There was also a timeline, evidence, and so on. As soon as this post was published, those who had supported Yi Nanshan and helped to scold Yi Zhen seemed to have disappeared without a trace. And those who had supported Yi Zhen and supported her were all filled with righteous indignation. Damn, how could there be such a shameless mistress? Damn, so it's true that novels originate from life. Poisoning the first wife? Why didn't she just die? It's scary to think about it. Why do I feel that the scumbag might have been involved in the death of the first wife? I agree with the person above. I feel that even if the scumbag didn't do it directly, he must have known about it. I agree with the person above plus 10086. I think the scumbag must have done something. One more thing, the scumbag's verdict is out. The first wife's daughter won the case, but the scumbag refused to accept it and wanted to appeal. Please don't let him win. Otherwise, where will the retribution be? Yi Zhen didn't pay attention to it all the time, but someone would come and tell her about it. She casually closed the page. No matter what, Chun Wan could forget about making a comeback in this life. As for Yi Nanshan, it didn't matter whether he appealed or not, because he wouldn't win. This matter is considered settled. Li Junqing sat next to her, picked up her phone, and put it aside. Believe me, Chun Wan will definitely go to jail. As for your father, even if he appeals again, it's useless, because he won't win. At that time, even if Yi Nanshan appealed, the original verdict would only be upheld. Giving Yi Nanshan 5% was considered extremely benevolent. If he still didn't know what was good for him, and still wanted to continue to be greedy and want more, then Li Junqing naturally wouldn't let him be too complacent. But if it's confirmed that Yi Nanshan is indeed related to the death of your mother, then it won't be as simple as losing shares. Yi Zhen nodded. Right now, I only hope that he has nothing to do with this matter. That way, at least it could prove that the man Lu Hui loved back then wasn't a scumbag to the end. Don't think about it. Li Junqing held her hand and said gently, You've been too tired recently. You're as tense as a string. I think why don't I take you out to relax? Relax. Yi Zhen bit her lip. Chun Wan's case hasn't been decided yet. It won't be decided so soon. At least until the police find out whether the death of Wang Chunhua's 2 children was an accident. I know. I just hope that it can be faster. She had waited for this day for too long. She had watched Chun Wan's complacency for too long. She had hated for too long. She hoped that these things could be resolved quickly. She wanted those people to stay away from her life. From then on, whether it was Chun Wan or Yi Ningen, they would all get out of her life. It will be very fast. Li Junqing didn't like to see her worry about this matter. Alright, don't think about it. I'll take you out. Let's go play, how about it? Where to? Come on, follow me and you'll know. Chapter 809. Yi Zhen looked at the building in front of her and turned her face. She was a little excited and a little confused. She didn't understand how Li Junqing knew about this place. Zhen. Li Junqing held her hand, pushed open the carved copper door outside, and walked inside. "This is my gift to you." Yi Zhen was speechless. She looked at the building in front of her and felt very emotional. This small courtyard, this house. It was where Lu Hui and Yi Nanshan lived when they first got married. The time they had spent here had been the best of all. At that time, for Yi Zhen, his parents loved him dearly and his family was happy. Although the house was small, it contained all of his mother's attention. The flowers and plants outside the yard were planted by her mother. Every room inside was personally designed and decorated by Lu Hui. She had once thought that she would live here for the rest of her life. She put her mind to it. Make it a home. Unfortunately, Yi Nanshan was determined to succeed in his career at that time. He couldn't do it without Lu Hui. Lu Hui had no choice but to follow him and carry the shogi company. Later on, the company grew bigger and bigger. Yi Nanshan was making more and more money. In order to save face, he bought the place where they lived now. It was an extremely gorgeous villa. Everything was the best, but it had lost the feeling of home. After her mother passed away, Yi Zhen was afraid that she would miss her. In addition, she didn't have this property in her inheritance. She thought that her parents had sold this place in order to start a business. She didn't expect Li Junxing to bring her back here today. This place was almost sold. Li Junxing looked at the expression on Yi Zhen's face and seemed to know what she was thinking. Back then, when Yi Nanshan was negotiating a joint venture, he happened to be short on funds. At that time, housing prices in Qingqing had just risen, and your family had just moved to a big villa. Your father wants to sell this house. It was your mother who didn't agree. Later on, the group's funds had to be resolved. She secretly went to look for your grandfather. Thanks to your grandfather, she managed to get the funds, but left this place behind. At that time, Yi Nanshan said he wanted to mortgage this place to your grandfather to save face. After your mother passed away, your grandfather came here. He was afraid that gambling would hurt him, so he never came. Later, he didn't want to see the house sad, so it was left empty. This time, when I was investigating the true tree of your mother's death, I also found this place. Zhenzhen, I have brought back the mortgage. Now it's yours. Of course, in order to convince Lu Manjiang to transfer the property to him, he spent a lot of effort. If Lu Manjiang hadn't known that he was using this as a gift for Yi Zhen, he probably wouldn't have nodded so readily. Yi Zhen turned to look at him. That sour yet sweet feeling came again. After her mother passed away, she had to work hard to grow up. In the process of trying to grow up, it was inevitable that she would neglect the beauty of the past. She never thought that he would actually bring her here and give her such a gift. She couldn't tell what she was feeling. She could only jump up and hug Li Junsheng. Uncle Li, thank you. No one had ever been so nice to her. Except for his mother. Unfortunately, Lu Hui died young. After she left, Yi Zhen was no different from an orphan. No matter how well off the Yi family was, no matter how generous they were. Without the company of his parents and close relatives, what fun was there? I've said it before. You don't have to thank me. Uncle Li. Yi Zhen buried her face tightly in Li Juanqing's arms. She smelled his scent and was moved. I like you. I like you too. Perhaps it was more than like or a lot more. Uncle Li. Yi Zhen suddenly raised her head to look at him. Her hands were still tightly clinging to his shoulders, but the emotions on her little face looked a little nervous. Yes, Uncle Li, let's get married. Yi Zhen said as if she was going all out. In the past, because of Yi Nanshan, she had never thought of falling in love, nor had she ever thought of getting married. But now it was different. Now, she really felt that if she could spend the rest of her life with Li Junsheng, she would also look forward to it very much. Li Junsheng smiled. When he smiled, it made people feel that the world was bright. His little girl was sometimes very bold. When she was in bed, she was very shy, but now, she took the initiative to propose. Zhenzhen, I really want to say yes. This was the first time he had been proposed to by a girl. What did he mean? Yi Zhen looked at him in confusion. Although I really want to say yes, it's better to let a man propose. As Li Junqing spoke, he kissed the corner of her lips. However, I'm very honored to be proposed to by Chairman Yi. Yi Zhen was just impulsive for a moment. After the impulse, She didn't have the courage to say it a second time. She buried her head in his chest with a slightly red face and listened to his heartbeat. She felt that all the grievances and troubles from before seemed to have disappeared without a trace. Silly girl. His girl really made him love and pity her. Let's go inside and take a look. Think about what needs to be changed and what you're not satisfied with. Look back, except for what you want to keep. We'll redecorate it together. Yi Zhen smiled sweetly at him. Okay. In the Yi family's villa, Yi Ningen looked at Yi Nanshan with a pleading look in her eyes. Dad, please save Mom. How could Mom kill someone? Dad, this must be done by that B*tch Yi Zhen. She wants to harm my mom. Dad, hurry up and think of a way. Dad, why aren't you saying anything? Mom has been arrested. How can you still be so calm? Dad, how could Yi Nanshan be in the mood to care about Qinwan? He was so annoyed these past few days. After the court's ruling, he could only keep 5% of the shares? What did this mean? This meant that he was not even as good as a small shareholder. How could he take this lying down? How could he be willing to give so many shares to Yi Zhen? However, he asked Lawyer Ding. Lawyer Ding said that even if he appealed again, the result would probably be the same. This made Yi Nanshan very annoyed. When he heard Yi Ningen's words, he was even more annoyed. Enough. Stop arguing. Dad, what's the use of calling me? It's your mom who poisoned you. Since she did this, she naturally has to pay the price. Yi Ningen looked at Yi Nanshan in a daze. She almost couldn't believe that these words came out of his mouth. Dad, what are you talking about? Aren't you thinking of a way to save Mom now? How? How? Yi Nanshan finally reacted. That damned girl Yi Zhen's backer was too powerful. Li Junxing was the mayor of a city. At that time, he was careless and shed all pretense of cordiality. If he endured it for a while. Dad? Yi Ningen's eyes were red. She rarely looked so pitiful. Yi Nanshan didn't have time to pay attention to her. He planned to look for Lawyer Ding again, to see if there was any other way. No matter what, he definitely wouldn't give all the company's shares to Yi Zhen. Yi Ningen sat in the living room. She hugged her shoulders and her eyes were gloomy. Yi Nanshan's reaction made her realize one thing. If she wanted to save her mother now, she could only rely on her. She took out her phone and made a few calls. Then she got up and went out. Mom, don't worry. I'll definitely save you. I won't let that B*tch Yi Zhen continue to be complacent. When Yi Zhen woke up, her waist was a little sore. Last night, Li Junxing was especially enthusiastic. She blinked her eyes. The different feeling under her body made her realize that the place under her body didn't seem to be the bed at home. The feeling of shaking made her open her eyes instantly. Only then did she realize that she was actually in the car. She fell asleep in the back seat of the car, her head resting on Li Junxing's lap. Seeing that she was awake, he put down the document in his hand. You're awake? Yes. Yi Zhen sat up. Where are we going? She was so sleepy that she didn't even know that Li Junxing had carried her into the car. She was really too careless. Back to Rong City, Li Junxing pulled her body into his arms. A few days ago, because of the court hearing, I didn't go home for the Mid-Autumn Festival. My mom missed you very much. She called me several times to ask about you. Yi Zhen didn't say anything. Last time, Li Junxing almost got into an accident. After she contacted Motherly once, the two sides contacted each other more often. Motherly always suspected that Li Junxing couldn't take care of her well. She asked him several times to take her back to Rong City. She had been tortured by Li Junxing yesterday, and her waist was still a little sore. She relaxed her body and leaned all her weight on him. It's not good to go back empty-handed. Let's go pick some gifts later. It's okay. I'm ready. Li Junxing pinched her cheek. Don't worry. My parents won't care about these empty gifts. Yi Zhen half closed her eyes and listened to him speak above her head. Lawyer Tang called you this morning. I saw that you were too tired, so I answered the phone for you. Huh? What did he say? He said that Yi Nanshan probably won't hand over the shares so easily. He's looking for Lawyer Ding and some lawyers from other cities to appeal again. Let him go. Yi Zhen was now confident. I don't believe that he will win. As she spoke, she glanced at Li Junsheng. After all, I still have you. Yes. Yi Zhen's trust made Li Junsheng feel very good. However, he said, but there's something I still have to tell you first. What? It's true that he will appeal again. Even if he appeals again, the original verdict may be upheld. But this way, it will take a long time for you to completely take control of the company. It's okay. Yi Zhen shook her head. I don't mind. After Yi Nanshan's matter was exposed, Ling Xian and Li Junxing secretly guided the wind. The whole incident was almost one-sided. Especially after Chen Wan was arrested, no one would stand on Yi Nanshan's side. Some companies that were originally going to cooperate with the company, but had to suspend their cooperation because of Yi Zhen's unfilial post, came looking for them again. After all, there would always be some disgust to cooperate with a person with a bad character like Yi Nanshan. But Yi Zhen was different. It didn't matter who he cooperated with. If he cooperated with Yi Zhen, he could still give Yi Zhen face. In fact, although Li Junxing appeared in a low-key manner that day, and people could watch the trial, but were not allowed to take photos, there were still people who saw Li Junxing's figure in the blurry photos that were leaked out. Those who could survive in the business world were all shrewd people. After asking around in private, some things were not covered up. It was Li Junxing, who clearly wanted everyone to know. He was the one who asked someone to delete the posts that were unfavorable to Yi Zhen. Later, when the posts that were favorable to Yi Zhen were pushed up, it was also his doing. Then, Li Junxing appeared in court hand in hand with Yi Zhen without any hesitation. The meaning behind this was self-evident. This was also Li Junxing's goal. He would never let anyone bully his little girl again. No matter what. After Yi Nanshan's accident, there would definitely be turmoil in the company. Those people could ignore the little girl, but they would definitely give him face. If he said that he was taking advantage of the situation, then so be it. He wanted to stand up for his little girl. No matter what Yi Nanshan does, he can forget about swallowing those shares. Don't worry. If he didn't follow the court's decision, Li Junxing had a way to make him spit it out. Leaving him 5% was already his last compromise. If he was willing to be honest, naturally nothing would happen. If he was unwilling, Yi Nanshan had been smart all these years. Li Junxing didn't believe that he had a way to deal with him. Yi Zhen heard the domineering tone in his words. She reached out and wrapped her arms around his waist, rubbing her little face against his body. With you here, I'm very relieved. She realized that in front of him, she really seemed to have become a little girl. She wanted to act coquettishly and softly. Uncle Li, thank you. Silly girl. A faint smile appeared in Li Junxing's eyes. If he really wanted to thank someone, he had to thank Yi Zhen. If it wasn't for the appearance of such a girl, he wouldn't have known that one day, he would also have such a state of mind. He wanted to hold her in the palm of his hand and give her the best in the world. He wanted to let her know that no matter what the outside world was like, as long as he was there, he would protect her peace. Yi Ningen went to the detention center to see Chen Wan. The verdict hadn't been announced yet. Chen Wan wasn't in prison, but in the detention center. She brought a lawyer with her, so she would allow people to visit her. In the process, she asked the lawyer to leave for a while, and chatted with Chen Wan alone for about 20 minutes. When she left the detention center, there was already a smile on her face. Chen Wan had painstakingly built up her business for many years. How could she not have left some backup? She knew that Chen Wan would definitely have a way to save herself. But before that, she had to think of a way to get rid of Yi Zhen. Everything was Yi Zhen's doing. If it weren't for her, how could the company have changed owners? How could Dad only recognize the shares and not the people? It was all Yi Zhen's fault. It was her. Everything was her fault. Yi Ningen got into the car, her eyes filled with ruthlessness. After Yi Zhen knew the possible outcome of the verdict, she let herself relax. She stayed in Rong City with Li Junxing for 2 days and had a rather relaxing and warm holiday. Mother Li liked her very much. When she saw her, she kept saying that she had lost weight. She was thinking of ways to nourish her. She was also worried that she wouldn't know how to take care of herself. So she said that she wanted to pick 2 people from the Li family to go to Qing City to take care of her. Yizhen politely declined. Qing City had already hired a nanny, so why would Mother Li need to worry about such trivial matters? Her mother died early, so she rarely interacted with female elders. After spending a long time with Mother Li, she actually found the feeling of being with Lu Hui. After all, Lu Hui and Mother Li were very similar in some aspects. They were both from good backgrounds, and their manners were top-notch. She also went to see the twins of the Hua family. Now that they were a little older, the more she looked at them, the cuter they became. Su Qingseng knew that Hua Jinyao was on good terms with Li Junsheng. Seeing the envy in her eyes, she teased her and asked her to have a pair as well. Yizhen blushed a little. She didn't dare to think about having a pair. However, it was still possible to have one. Li Junsheng was good-looking, and she wasn't bad either. She wondered what their child would look like. That night, for the first time, when Li Junsheng asked for it, she was even more enthusiastic than before. In fact, she knew that she was still young and wasn't ready to be a mother. However, when she saw the pink and snow-white baby, she felt that it would be a wonderful thing if she could have such a pair of twins. However, Li Junsheng didn't lose his head because of her enthusiasm. He didn't skip a single step in taking precautions. Yizhen couldn't tell how she felt. She knew that Li Junsheng didn't let her get pregnant and have children so early to protect her. However, she began to think about whether she could choose a time to tell Li Junsheng about it next time. She actually wanted to have children with him. 2 days of vacation wasn't enough. However, there would be plenty of time in the future. There would always be opportunities. After returning to Qing City, some cooperation projects were put on the agenda again, and some companies also took the initiative to extend olive branches. Yizhen began to become busy. Yi Nanshan's application for an appeal, and the matter of a new sentence, had also been settled. Yizhen was not afraid at all. The painting company would definitely be back in her hands sooner or later. She wasn't afraid at all. On the day before the trial, Yizhen had a few plans that she hadn't finished reading. She had to stay and work overtime. Chute had something to do today, and said that she had to leave first. She left a small secretary in the secretary's office with the surname Jiang to help her. Yizhen didn't need much help from Xiao Jiang. After asking her to order 2 lunchboxes for herself, she let Xiao Jiang go. She could have let Zhao Li handle this matter, but Zhao Li's mission was to protect her, not to be her secretary. She and Zhao Li finished the 2 lunchboxes each. Zhao Li took the initiative to clean up the 2 lunchboxes. Yizhen took out the documents and continued to read them, but she heard a soft sound from outside. Confused, she quickly went outside. Just as she left the office, she saw Zhao Li in the corridor. He seemed to have fallen, and was lying there motionless. Yizhen was shocked. She wanted to go forward, but her legs suddenly went soft. It was at this moment that she was hit hard on the back of her neck. Her vision went black, and she completely lost consciousness. Soon, Yizhen and Zhao Li were no longer in the corridor. The entire process was very fast. In addition, it was time to get off work. Other than the people who stayed behind to work overtime, the entire office building was terrifyingly quiet. Chapter 8:10. When Yizhen woke up, she felt very uncomfortable. She had a splitting headache, and her limbs felt like they were tied up, which made her feel very uncomfortable. She opened her eyes to see what was going on, but the feeling of her limbs being tied woke her up. She had actually been kidnapped. Yizhen struggled to sit up, and looked at the environment in front of her. It was very dark, and there was no moon, so she couldn't see clearly. A strong wind blew, and Yizhen felt the trembling under her. She also saw where she was. This seemed to be an abandoned construction site. She didn't see anyone, and she was placed on a crane in a construction site. As long as she moved, her body would fall. Yizhen took a deep breath. She tried to sit up, but she didn't dare to move too much. She was afraid that if she moved too much she would die. The night wind was cold, and Qing City, which had already passed the Mid-Autumn Festival, was chilly. She was in the office just now, and she was only wearing a white shirt. This will be blown by the wind. Her body curled up. She was still thinking about who wanted to deal with her, when her body was already swaying a few times from the wind. The mechanical crane under her swayed along with it. With a bang, a strong light suddenly appeared in front of her. The light shone from the high ground of the construction site next to her, and hit her face. Yijin suddenly saw the light and narrowed her eyes. When she reacted, she realized that there was a person sitting in the crane operation car. She couldn't see the person's figure clearly against the light, but the crane under her began to move. The huge swing almost made Yijin's body slide down. She had no choice but to grab the crane under her tightly. Unfortunately, it was especially difficult for her to do this with her hands tied. She could feel the pain in her fingers. It wasn't easy for her to stabilize herself, but the crane swung in another direction. She was swung and almost fell. Ah! An uncontrollable scream escaped. When the crane shook more and more violently, Yijin tried her best to calm herself down. She looked at the figure in the operation room. "Who are you? Who are you? Come out." There was no reply from the person in the operation room. Instead, the crane swayed in the opposite direction. Yijin's body was almost thrown out again. She clenched her fists until they hurt. Her face was pale, and her legs were weak. She didn't have acrophobia, but in such a situation, anyone would be afraid. The arm kept swaying, sometimes to the left, sometimes to the right. Yijin was starting to feel dizzy. His hand was unable to hold on to the arm anymore. Just when she thought she would be thrown off the arm, it finally stopped. The lights dimmed, and the sudden darkness made her unable to see anything again. When she finally adapted to the darkness, the light was turned on again, and the crane began another round of swaying. Yijin was on the verge of vomiting. This feeling made her very uncomfortable. The repeated torment made her certain of one thing. The other party was here to torment her, and didn't want her to have an easy time. She was only 30% suspicious at first, but now it had become 70% suspicious. She exerted her strength, and grabbed onto the arm of the crane as it swayed. She raised her eyes to meet the dazzling light. "Yiningen, are you a child? Using such a childish method to deal with me?" The crane suddenly stopped. With her back to the light, she couldn't see what was going on inside, but it didn't affect her judgment. "What? Your mother is in prison. Do you think it's my fault and want to take revenge on me? Yiningen, why are you so stupid? Aren't you afraid of being thrown into prison too? That's true. Your mother is in prison, and you're in prison too. It'll be nice for the two of you to have company." Her voice was a little weak. No matter how brave she was, being hung high in the air and constantly swaying made her nauseous and uncomfortable. Mother and daughter in prison together. Speaking of which, it's really a wonderful story. Shut up. The person sitting in the crane finally spoke. It was a sharp voice that didn't sound like her usual sweet voice. Who else could it be but Yiningen? Her figure was hidden in the light and couldn't be seen clearly, but her voice sounded very exasperated. "Yijin, you be *tch. All you have left now is a battle of words. I really want to know if you can survive if I throw you down from here." This building was half built, but it was an unfinished building that had been stopped due to quality problems. It had been abandoned for a long time. She spent a lot of effort today to get someone to bring the crane over and hoist Yijin up. "Tell me, it was just a rotation of 30 degrees. What's the point? I'll rotate 360 degrees and see if you can still hold on, Yijin." Yijin had just managed to grab the crane with great difficulty. She didn't expect the crane to suddenly rotate again. This time, she couldn't hold it firmly and her body flew out. The moment she fell, she thought she was going to die. The sudden tightness on her feet and the congested blood in her head made her realize that she was tied to the arm by Yiningen. Her heels were tied to the crane, so she couldn't fall for the time being. However, her body was suspended in the air with her head down and her feet up. Yijin, who was already nauseous, felt even more uncomfortable and almost vomited. Ha ha ha. The crane finally stopped, but Yijin was still swaying in the air. Yiningen was very proud and looked at Yijin. "Tsk, how is it? The feeling of hanging upside down isn't bad, right? Do you want to come down?" Yijin couldn't answer her question at all. Her whole body was dizzy, and she felt very uncomfortable. "Yijin, you deserve this? Yizhen swayed uncomfortably. The night wind was strong and cold, and her body was trembling. She finally stabilized herself. She gritted her teeth and looked at Yiningen above her. Yiningen, I think you really want to go to jail. Don't worry, I won't go to jail. I didn't do anything to you. I'm just playing a game with you. Crazy. Yes, I'm crazy. It's all because of you. Yinanshan's shares were only left with 5%. Now, in order to keep his shares, he didn't even care about his wife. And Chunwan was in the detention center. The biggest possibility was that she would go to jail. Without the identity of the Yi family's eldest daughter, without Chunwan's support, she really didn't know how to live a dignified life in Qing City. She didn't hate Yi Nanshan. Instead, she hated Yi Zhen. If she hadn't been so ruthless, how could she have ended up like this? Yi Zhen, are you feeling very uncomfortable now? Do you really want to come up? Yi Zhen didn't speak. The feeling of blood rushing to her head was very bad. Not to mention that her body didn't stop swaying. Beg me. Yiningen smiled proudly. Yi Zhen begged me. Maybe I'll pull you up. What do you think? Yi Zhen didn't care about her at all. She just tried to fight against the cold wind, tried to stabilize her body, and didn't let her continue to sway. Yi Zhen, tell me, if I keep you hanging here for 3 days and 3 nights, what will you do? Yiningen didn't need Yi Zhen's answer. She just wanted to say the words in her heart. Or, we can talk about a condition. Yi Zhen, as long as you give up on pursuing Dad, don't ask him for those shares, and obediently transfer your shares to me. I'll pull you up. What do you think? Yi Zhen was dizzy, but she still heard Yiningen's words. She sneered, ignoring the discomfort of being hung upside down, and looked at Yiningen. You want the company's shares? Why? Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have? She spoke very slowly and with great difficulty, but in terms of momentum, she absolutely wouldn't admit defeat. Yiningen, it's not your own credit that you can bring me here today, right? Let me think, who helped you? Chun Liang? No, it's not him. He's being troubled now, and I'm afraid he can't take care of himself. So it's the person your mother found? She didn't guess Yi Nanshan not because she trusted Yi Nanshan's character, but because she clearly knew. Yi Nanshan's means would only be much simpler and more violent than this. Only a perverted person like Yi Ningen could come up with such a sinister way to torment her. I heard that when your mother was in the civilian area before, she recognized a lot of brothers. Now it seems that the person who helped you tie me up here and hang me up should be your cheap uncle, right? The words were intermittent, but Yiningen heard it clearly. Her face was distorted. She operated the arm and began to swing in the air again. Yi Zhen's body swayed with the arm again. It was not that she was not afraid, but that she knew it was useless to be afraid. Her body was very uncomfortable, and the constantly swaying arm made her feel like vomiting again. But the more it was like this, she forced herself to calm down. Am I right? Are you guilty? Yiningen, which cheap uncle of yours helped you to tie me up? I'm wrong. Maybe it's not a cheap uncle but a cheap father. Yi Zhen, I'm going to kill you. Yiningen was provoked to lose control. Her hands kept operating the arm, constantly swaying back and forth. Yi Zhen was uncomfortable from the swaying and was about to vomit. The rope tied to her feet seemed to loosen at this time. This time, Yi Zhen was really scared. Just when she thought she was going to be thrown out and fall, the crane stopped. Yiningen looked at the constantly swaying Yi Zhen, and her face was sinister. Yi Zhen, what's wrong? Are you still not going to let go? Are you sure you really want to hang here forever? She got up and left the operation room, looking at Yi Zhen from afar. Yi Zhen, if you don't want to die, obediently agree to my conditions. I can let you come up now and let you live. How about it? Yi Zhen was really uncomfortable. She looked at Yiningen, who was against the light, and finally agreed. Yiningen, even if you want me to agree to your conditions, you have to let me go first, right? Don't worry. As long as you agree and sign, I promise to let you go. Yiningen didn't really want to take Yi Zhen's life. She didn't want to go to jail. However, she really wanted to vent her anger. That was why she came up with such a move to deal with Yi Zhen. Then let me go up first. Yizhen knew what Yuningen was thinking, and she also knew that she wouldn't let her go so easily. The arm swayed again, and then the rope kept sliding down. Her body slowly fell. Seeing that she was about to hit the ground, she lowered her head and tried to move her body up, letting her back land first. Her body was put down, but she still felt very uncomfortable. The feeling of losing control of her body and being constantly swayed up and down, left and right, was really terrible. She slept on the mud and didn't move, letting the dizziness pass. Footsteps approached her. Yuningen walked in front of her and looked down at her wretched state. Yizhen, I'll untie one of your hands now. Sign this document, and I'll let you go. If you don't sign, don't think that I'm the only one on this construction site. If you don't sign it, I don't mind hanging you up again. Yizhen's eyes were closed. She glanced at the construction site from the corner of her eyes. She didn't see anyone else, but she knew that what Yuningen said was true. She had spent so much effort to get her here, so she definitely wouldn't let her go easily. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Yuningen. Because she hadn't recovered from the dizziness, her body was still curled up in one place. How do I know that you'll let me go if I sign it? I said, I don't want to go to jail. Yuningen took out the document from her back. As long as you sign this document, I'll definitely let you go. Yizhen didn't speak and looked at the document. I have to see what's in it, right? What? You want to stall for time? Wait for your Mayorly to come and save you? Yuningen suddenly smiled. I may have to disappoint you, but your Mayorly is not free now. What did she mean? Before I brought you here, I used a trick to transfer your Mayorly away. So, he is now on the way to the airport. Maybe he has already boarded the plane. If you wait for him to come and save you, I advise you not to waste your time. Yizhen pursed her lips into a straight line. Okay, help me up so that I can sign it. Wouldn't it be better if you did this earlier? But let me tell you, don't try to play tricks. I still have brothers outside. Yizhen didn't speak. She tried to sit up, looked at Yuningen, and motioned for her to untie her. Yuningen got a positive answer, and was sure that she couldn't play tricks anymore. She squatted down in front of her. She loosened the rope binding Yizhen's hands. Of course, she only loosened the rope on her hands. Okay, sign it. Yizhen didn't take the document. She reached out to untie the rope on her feet, but a knife suddenly appeared on her neck. What? Do you think I'll believe you? Yuningen smiled coldly. Yizhen, I've said it before. Don't play tricks. This is the suburbs, and everyone outside is my people. You'd better be smart and sign it otherwise. She pressed the knife against her neck. Believe it or not, I'll take your life. You can't escape even if you kill me. I don't need to escape. Who can prove that I killed you? Yizhen looked at the knife and finally nodded. Okay, I'll sign it. That's right. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.